seconds.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if any of you can hear us, but we're having twice as much grottu as usual. Just when you didn't think it could get more strange.
Well, I'm testing my wife's phone and my phone. So I'm coming to you from two different phones and hi-fi stereo. And this way I can see which one drops out the most. And then I'll hang up on the one that hangs up, that screws up.
This is a Twilight Zone.
Yeah. This is how they do it in the 25th century. Or what century is the Legion of Superheroes in? The 23rd? I can't remember.
Okay, we just saw a little bit of a glitch on your old phone, the one you've added.
My old phone.
And that now we just saw a glitch on the new phone.
Okay.
I don't know.
Grottu Orloff is the one that should work best.
Yeah. But the other one wasn't doing too bad.
There's a delay on the Grottu one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good experiment.
Well, folks, we decided to let you see some of what we were doing.
Yeah.
So I hear Texas is underwater now.
Texas is underwater. Well, the sun's out right now. Is there some flooding somewhere? Are you serious? There's some flooding, or you just?
I've spoken to other people in Texas, and they say it's really coming down today. So.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been raining for a month and a half, like almost nonstop. Very bizarre and unnatural. But then, so it was also almost freezing to death in our homes a couple of months ago. That was a lot of fun too. So.
Well, so those of you just joining us, we're going to try our second take with this. We're going to be talking a little bit of Legion of Superheroes with Superboy. And we'll also be discussing Fantastic Four Annual #1. And we'll also have your comments as we go. Right off the bat, we have Man Bear Pig is here.
Oh, cool. Lieutenant Colonel Leatherface Slasher Orloff reporting for duty. Yeah, see, that's what I was hoping, that it'll become like the Salty Cracker Army. He's this conservative comedian on YouTube, and you just see it's like everywhere. People that, what the hell is that? Excuse my language. Oh, that's just moisture from my drink. Because I picked up this thing here in my hand. Remember these things?
Yeah, I used to have a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, and I picked it up and I felt water. I thought, is it leaking? But I don't think it's leaking. It's because I just had that Brahms soft drink in my hand. But I'm getting paranoid about water because I had a drink spill in my last episode. Just everything's been going horribly today.
We also have Movie World Comics joining us, and he says Legion of Superheroes were some of the very first comics he ever read.
Uh-huh.
And he also says his name is Captain Monzingo, the beast that walks the
well,
earth.
That's right. Well, there was a grave that I saw yesterday when I was in the cemetery, and I said, if anyone wants to be Monzingo, because that's a cool name, and he volunteered to take that name. Yeah, Monzingo. That's just like right out of a spaghetti western.
And we have Zombo Orloff.
I'd have to look in my black to see who that is. Who did I give that name to?
It's a very nice, good Christian name, Zombo.
That's Justin Carguth.
Ah,
His code name is the Judge. Serial number 455268.
well, he could also
Yeah.
pass for the fifth Marx brother, I think. Harpo, Groucho,
Yeah.
Zombo, Chico.
Do you know where the name comes from, Graphic Man?
Zombo. No.
It's not a biblical name. There was an episode of The Munsters where Eddie Munster was just enamored of this, like kids are of movie stars. It was a horror show host.
I've seen
his
it.
name was Zombo, and he looked horrible, you know. But to him, he was a movie star. And then, of course, he's crushed when he finds out that it's just a
He's just a
regular
guy.
guy working
Yeah.
at the local station that puts on the outfit to host horror movies. And it was always a great episode. It won one of my favorite episodes of The Munsters. Yeah.
And Man Bear Peg says, amazing. I think he was saying that during the time when there was two of you on screen. That was pretty amazing.
Well, you notice it seems to be streaming okay now.
It does. It does.
I don't know what the deal is, because I was hoping that this would be an instant cure, and that I was going to maybe get a phone like my wife's, so I can do the streaming stuff. And I still haven't tried. I haven't experimented with my laptop. It's charged at least. But yeah, these I've got a box labeled Silver Age Comics Box 1, and it was on the very bottom. And I've got the boxes stacked too high, I realize. And there was a trick that Captain Strangelife was showing in one of his videos where he puts like some kind of board across that keeps the comic boxes from sinking in on each other, because these newer boxes are not well constructed like the old ones. This brand BCW, I think, is very inferior. But
well, one day you might want to go short box, because anymore that's all I do is short boxes. It is so nice to be able to move around.
Well, I think I've screwed up something internally, like all around, either that or I'm dying of something horrible, because I feel like, you know, in PE class when they made you do all those sit-ups, but I've been feeling that way for a long time. And I don't, my wife got this couch that you sit in and your feet stay up. And in order to get on the couch all the way to the back, you have to crawl on it to the back of the couch. And then to get off of it, you have to, it's like you're doing push-up, sit-ups. And
yeah,
that may be what's screwing up my abdomen. And then picking up these, yeah, I probably need to go short boxes.
And for some of the more nicer books that I want to sneak into the dining room, I just get a little box like this, put a little sticker on there that tells me these are Fantastic Fours. So that way they're not out with all the riffraff, the other books.
Where do you keep all your comics that aren't acceptable enough for the house?
Well, yeah, some of my old videos I did out in my part garage, part studio. I live in Missouri. We have humidity. It's probably not as bad as the nice folks down in Georgia and Florida, but I realized a long time ago when I was a little kid that the humidity where I live will make your pages turn slightly yellow. And about that time in the 80s, all the rage was they had these little cards called owl cards. You probably remember them. It was to grade the color of your interior pages. And I quickly realized as a little kid, oh no, in the future, no one's going to like any of my books because they're not going to be sparkling white bleached pages, because I don't live in Arizona, you know, where that's probably the best place to have a collection, but
or Colorado.
Yeah.
That's where the Mile High collection was found.
Movie World says he exclusively stores books in short boxes. But yeah, I used to have all those long boxes, and then they just seem to be unruly after a while. And I appreciate the short box. So I don't think I have any longs left. I would let relatives keep them. They'd put old shoes in them or something in a closet. I just went to little short boxes. So
short boxes tend to not. You can stack them higher.
Well, I'm always
think
moving
you
them
stack-
around, and if I'm trying to get to something, I got boxes in front of other boxes, and whatever I'm wanting is always behind something. And I just found it was a whole lot easier just to move short boxes around.
Huh.
Like in fact,
I'm watching this on my phone. So because on my wife's, I can't see all the comments.
You talk about moving.
I got to go short box.
You talk about moving from time to time. I wonder, have you given an estimated time of how long would it take you to get all of that out and moved into a big U-Haul or whatever you'd use?
I don't know. Last time I moved was about 1994. I moved and moved back. I moved everything I had at the time, but I've accumulated a lot since then, including like 12 pinball machines. But as far as it wouldn't be. It's not a lot of fun. I know that, but we just need more room. So,
well, let me start you off with a little Fantastic Four Annual #1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the book that Grottu wants to get one day. Why do you want this one?
Well, it's the one I don't have of the annuals. I mean, I don't. Of course, there's a certain point where I have no interest in the annuals after like I don't know when they got bad, late 80s, early 90s. But I don't know. Somehow I'm fixated on it.
So you have a lot of the others, like you've got #2.
I have that. Yeah, I think I have all the rest in the 60s.
There's 6.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I mean,
I don't have #1 either. So
usually when you see it, people have taped it back together, which I don't think I would even mind. But it's just something I've been fixated on. But then now I've gone fixated on other things since then. But
well,
cool
in the meantime,
a lot of things would be cool to get.
There's a couple of things you might do. Like if you remember, you probably have #8. Then this reprints the story with just a different cover, and looks like Eric's going to. Hello, Mr. Breen. Don't know if you can hear us yet, but
I can.
Fantastic. I'm just showing him some alternatives to Fantastic Four Annual #1. The one I think you might be interested in is this one right here. It's the special edition #1. Is 1984, and you can find that very easily. Probably $5. I have a better picture of it here. Well, I did, but here it is. So it's a wraparound cover, and as I move it a little bit to the side, it's got 5 additional pages added by John Byrne, where right in the middle of the story, he takes you through the origin of Submariner. And so here you see Burns trying to do his best version of Jack Kirby. and it shows his mother falling in love with the human sailor, and then of course they get married and have Prince Namor, and then it briefly gets you back up to speed that he was in the Invaders or the All Stars, and then the Human Torch found him. But those are good substitutes if you can ever get your hands on the real McCoy.
Yeah, well, I've had that 60s reprint special since the late 70s, and does it reprint the entirety of that issue?
No, for example, where was it? As you see the cover here, they got a Spider-Man and a Doctor Doom story, so you won't get to see that.
It's just a great. I like everything about it. The design of the cover, the different color letters. It's just, I would want that. Yeah, I have the reprint of that main storyline. I don't know. I probably waited too long because today it seems to be leaking out on the internet that the Submariner is in this new Black Panther movie that doesn't have the Black Panther in it. And so now all the speculators are going to be like, well, who's Submariner? We got to buy up all those comics now. And then there will be no chance of ever getting that particular issue. Because, and then, they're saying, well, is the Submariner going to be the guy that kills the Black Panther, which would definitely make him a villain in the eyes of all these people.
Well, the Submariner is a crazy character because when he starts in the 1940s, right off the bat, he kills a Navy guy. And then they kind of quickly just kind of forget that. But I'm sure somebody's little boy didn't come home from the war, and that'd be a rough way to think about it. He's always a hero, then he's a villain, then he's a hero.
Right. Yeah. He's a character that a lot of people seem to just have forgotten about. It doesn't help that, certain people draw him so horribly. I don't know what show I was watching the other day where they were laughing about his ponytail. That might have been The Auction. Eric, that auction seems. I was going to watch it at work on Sunday, but was it made private? Was it taken down?
God, he usually doesn't take him down that quickly. He could have. I left after the last
thing there.
I left after the last lot, and I noticed I was still awake about an hour later, and they were still going.
Oh my goodness!
So they might have started talking politics or something that might have gotten him flagged. So he might have taken it down as a precaution.
I only saw the first 3 lots. I wanted to check it the next day to see what your big special book was. What was it?
There was 2. It was the complete run of the 80s Supergirl series and Detective Comics 474.
Okay.
What's special about 474?
It's part of the Englehart Rogers run, and it's the reintroduction to Deadshot. It's got the cover where it's Deadshot's helmet, and you can see Batman in the helmet coming at him. It's a great comic. I'd love to have it. I used to have it. I'd love to have it again.
So was that before Deadshot, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who up until that point had only made 1 appearance in like Batman 59. And Englehart dusted him off and gave him an actual costume. And
for a split second, I thought you said Deathstroke. And I was going to ask, was that before Teen Titans? Hey, speaking of Teen Titans, they produced these little volumes, and I don't know if they made more than 12, but I got the 12 of them. And I used to really like the Teen Titans. And recently that I've read through it again, it seems like every chance they got, they couldn't just wait to start whining about something. Am I being too critical on that? Or Cyborg, he whines about, he can't be human. Changeling whines that, all his family is dead except his stepdad. And Robin whines about being, Batman's little buddy. And it's just on and on. Raven's always whining about, her father. And what did you think of Teen Titans?
I would say you are being a little overly
Okay.
critical. I mean, I said, I'd be whining too if I showed any emotion. My father would take over the world through me.
And I also forgot to say, Wally, the Kid Flash. Kid Flash is whining about, I always want to quit, and they keep pulling me back in. So
okay, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. I think the only one that didn't really whine was Donna Troy.
Well, that's because she didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
No, I thought that series, the original Wolfman Perez series, was phenomenal. To me, it's right up there with Byrne and Claremont's X-Men at the time.
And then Starfire getting married to that one guy. I don't know. If you really like Robin, don't get married. I don't.
Well, what is the run you're talking about where everyone was whiny?
Early 1980s, the new Teen Titans.
Well, that's the Wolfman Perez one, right?
Right.
Or was that late 70s? I think it's too
80, 81. Yeah.
Started in 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought all those issues. That was. I thought you were talking about like a revival. Yeah.
No.
I love that, but it's weird that you look those up and they're not highly valued. It's weird.
Well, don't get me wrong. The art was fantastic. I just maybe I shouldn't have read them all in one stretch. Maybe I should have given them a few days in between each book, like we old timers used to do when we waited at the newsstand.
Yeah, months. That they started to have several titles at a time. I think that was a little bit before X-Men started to go insane with all the titles, or was it simultaneous?
No, when Teen Titans was first started, the first couple of years, there was still just the X-Men, and the second X-Men title was New Mutants in '83, and then in '84, the Teen Titans launched their Baxter second title, and then about 2 years after that, the original one became reprints of the Baxter early issues.
Right. Okay, that's the way it was. Yeah. Then it became Tales of the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the Teen Titans, the numbering changes. They start producing the new stories in another title, and then the other one is kind of like reprints. Did I get that right?
No, that's what I said. The Baxter one ended up being the main title, and they shifted when it got about 2 years old. Yeah. They started over with number one, but they put those in the Tales of the Teen Titans, which had been the Wolfman Perez book.
What did you guys think of the TV series a couple of years ago or last year?
I didn't see it.
You talking about the cartoon?
No, the live action show.
I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. It's I watched it with my wife. I think there's 2 seasons, and now they're working on a third. And I thought I would hate it, and I didn't hate it, but it's really messed up. With a little tweaking, they could have had a masterpiece that kids could have actually watched, but they chose to make it darker and too dark. I mean, to the point where there's nudity and there's extreme violence and cursing. But they've got the actor they hired to play Robin, who's now Nightwing, looks perfect for the part. They're a little too chicken on some things, like they don't want to paint Changeling's skin green. they'll just give him green hair, so he just looks like Antifa. And then what else? Starfire's not orange. They just cast an African American woman as her. What else? It's odd. Batman is shown. He's like I think he's an actor that was in Game of Thrones. He's like a much older guy, but they show him, fighting, and they show Robin, before he goes back and forms the Titans, and he's just like kind of gone nuts, and he's like taking bad guys and a window's broken in a car, and he's just rubbing their face across the jagged broken glass. And it's odd, but I didn't hate it. In fact, I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, they knew, I don't know, you got to watch it, but and they introduced the Doom Patrol, and then Beast Boy or Changeling comes from the Doom Patrol, so they didn't change it that much. It just and then I don't know what the new Robin, what's the, like, Jason Todd or whatever, the Robin that Batman has now is
Tim Drake, I think. I don't know.
No, this week it's his son Damian Wayne.
Oh,
well, I mean, but in this TV show, he's just like nuts, and for some reason Batman doesn't rein him in. And there's a scene where he's in a parking garage and these police are attacking, and he takes this one policeman and just breaks his spine and probably turned him into a quadriplegic. And then the next, he's clearly shown as a psycho. The next season, they must have gotten letters from the girls that thought he was cute. So now he's okay, and he's just like a nice guy, kind of a bad boy. But wait a second, wasn't he like basically killing policemen in the last season? They kind of, and the Hawk and Dove aren't two guys like when I was a kid. They're a couple, and they just completely show R-rated scenes with them, Showtime, late night Showtime kind of scenes with them. It's like, if you just took that out, you could have had a great show for kids if you got rid of the language.
Sure.
And then they have the Doom Patrol show that's my wife and I enjoyed, but little tweaks to that, they could have made that, or kids could have watched it.
Yeah. Real quick, I'll want to answer a question here from Movie World Comics. He wants to know if Spider-Man Dr. Doom story was it reprinted from Amazing Spider-Man number 5? Yes, it was. Look for the title Marvel Tales, probably north of issue 155. I'm guessing maybe somewhere around there. Maybe within 20 issues of left or right of that. But they did reprint it. It was also reprinted in, I'm sure, the Masterworks and things like that.
Yeah.
Movie World also says it was Strangelife that was making fun of that ponytail.
That's where I heard it. Yeah, okay. It's just because he was showing. He had a box of Fantastic Four comics from a horrible time period, and he was making fun of them. It's like, why didn't you just chunk them? Show, because he's got so much great stuff. Show us the good stuff. I don't want to see some Fantastic Four from 2001 or whatever.
Yeah, during the period where Reed was supposedly dead, and it was basically just the Fantastic Three. I didn't care for that period. They were kind of having Submariner in there as a kind of a fourth member / romantic interest for Sue. I didn't care for that. I always liked Reed Richards, and I was glad they finally brought him back. But the FF storyline was really just. It's almost glad it came to an end after 416 issues, because they had a really good story going where Johnny, of course, marries supposedly the Thing's girlfriend, but she turns out to be a Skrull. An
Oh, they
interesting
get
plot.
married?
Yeah, but it's a Skrull. It's not really Alicia. It's a great plot point, and you can't wait to see how it works out. And then they just kind of let it nothing, and
Well,
horribly
okay,
disappointing to me.
so she's a Skrull, so that clears Alicia of being,
Yeah, yeah.
but it doesn't clear Johnny Storm because he didn't know that that was a Skrull. So, what's this? Is Alicia back in the comics now?
Yeah, and she still has feelings for Ben, but Ben had kind of moved on in his mind to
Well, that's
accepting the
bullshit.
idea that wasn't. Yeah, so they were messing with everybody's emotions, and it just. I never really,
Well,
I still collected it, but
I kind of accept the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee 70s when I discovered it. I accept all of that, but at a certain point, I just don't even accept it as being canon or whatever anymore. I just like if as far as Star Wars go, I don't accept any stories except the first 3 movies. I don't even accept that it was Episode 4. A New Hope. To me, it's Star Wars, and I don't accept the Disney sequels. I don't accept the prequels, even though it's George Lucas. He clearly lost his mind by that point.
But you definitely accept the Ewoks Christmas special, right? From back in 1981 or whatever that was.
My wife likes the Ewoks. I just always hated them. That's so. Yeah, I just when I read the John Byrne stories where everyone started to get real thin, like Karen Carpenter, and then Johnny Storm got a haircut that no hot rodder would have ever had, a fishbowl haircut that I guess is cool for the 80s, but
do you remember Richie Rich?
Rodder.
You remember Richie Rich? Richie Rich had all these couple of little poor friends. One of them was like Pee Wee or Freckles, and he always had that bowl haircut, orange headed. So Johnny's hair was worse than that. I agree.
Yeah, that's terrible. And then when he's dating Alicia, that was kind of like it for me. And then John Byrne, gets into this war with Jack Kirby where he's saying, well, I'm a company man. I wouldn't complain. I don't mind working for Marvel. Of course, he's working with all the toys that Jack Kirby left for him. And Jack Kirby got incensed at Byrne. And, right about that time, I was in college and I had other interests. I was always going into comic stores looking for new things that might interest me. I was always getting the old comics, but at a certain point, like this store that I'm working at, there's all these boxes in the back and they're stacked to the ceiling, and some you can't get to because of ladders, and some of them haven't been opened in 20 years. And I'm real eager to get into those boxes. And finally, they pulled out 2 boxes, and that I could, because I saw one that was marked Amazing Spider-Man 130 to 2 something, but it turned out that once you get into it, it was like later stuff. And I pull out, these are just store copies that didn't sell or he set back. And some of them, the bags are all horrible.
Yeah.
But some of them say $1 or $1.50, little tags that were put on them because they were worthless. And you pull them out and you got a set of 27 mint unread copies, probably some of the best in the world of these comics. I put videos of them. I shot some quick little videos. But I realized these are the comics. This is right after I stopped reading it, right after the black costume. So I never read those stories, and I'm sure it's like amazing to see that to some other people, but to me, I'm not even really that interested in pulling. There was some Electra Assassin that were in mint condition, and I pulled out a copy for myself out of the stack that were of each issue. Even though I think I have them, they were in just such amazing condition. And then there was another box of West Coast Avengers. And so I pulled out the White Vision that everyone's excited. I don't know if they're still excited this week about the White Vision, but they were a few months ago.
Well, I have an update. You two guys, you make money working at comic places. Am I right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I kind of did what Grottu did. We have one little store where I live, and all they are is back issues. Grottu would probably love it. But I went and volunteered, and I said, hey, you guys need any help here? And they were thrilled that I would even want to help. And they said, we can't pay you, but we'll give you credit and you can take it out of books. And so I went and set aside a bunch of Kid Colt Outlaw that I kind of want. And so come Thursday, I will be there volunteering, moving a bunch of boxes around and filing. And I'm going to get to bring home some Kid Colt Outlaw. While I was there talking to a guy, one of his customers passed out, fell into my arms, and I slowly let him down in a sitting position onto the floor so he doesn't hurt himself. And so the owner thinks I'm great. I go in there, I speak, nice, polite, and say yes, sir, and all that. So he's thrilled. So, and he's got good old stuff and stuff I want. The Lone Ranger and good Dell comics. So I'm not going to make money like you guys, but I'm in hog heaven just thinking about it.
Well, they're probably just happy someone's willing to take those comics because, like a lot of stores, they think that stuff is just garbage. Lone Ranger and Kid Colt Outlaw.
In the past, I've gone through his stuff and I've said, "Hey, you got this little rack here. Let me put some of these nice Turok and some Gold Key and stuff like that out." And he said later, those sold right away as soon as you put them out. So people just can't find stuff at his place, and so I put out what I think would be pretty good to have, and I get all my Unexpected, The Witching Hour. I get a lot of DC bronze from him. It's been really good. One thing, maybe Eric can answer this for us. Movie World corrected and said, no, I wasn't talking about Amazing Spider-Man Annual or number 5, but in the Fantastic Four Annual number 1 that Grottu wants, the Spider-Man story and the Doctor Doom story, did those two get reprinted? Well, the Spider-Man probably got reprinted in Marvel Tales, but I'm not familiar with the Doctor Doom story that is then that. But I'm sure Eric could probably just reach behind him and pull out FF Annual number 1.
I wish I could still do that. No, it's possible that they could have reprinted Spider-Man number 5 in the back of that annual. Because that was the issue where Spider-Man met Doctor Doom. But I'd be surprised if they did that. It would have been, because
that
Spider-Man
was 63 summer 63 annual.
Yeah, I don't know how far now. Spider-Man. Not the only Spider-Man story with a connection to the Fantastic Four at that point, other than Spider-Man number 1. Would have been there was a team up with
The Torch
and Strange Tales Annual number 2, where they fought a guy named the Fox, who was an art thief.
And I believe there was one where there was this little party going on at Human Torch's girlfriend Doris's house, and Spider-Man crashes the party early, very early.
What comic's that in? Strange Tales?
That would be Amazing Spider-Man. But
okay.
And at the end, Spider-Man leaves a little heart-shaped webbing for Sue, because the other FF make a very, very brief cameo. That's probably in a masterwork somewhere. It's just 3 rooms down. I can't get to it.
Well, looking at it here, and I think it's reprint the regular story.
Ah, okay.
But I'm going to do a little digging here, see if I can find out.
All right, Grottu, do you want to start talking about Legion?
Well, I probably discovered Legion about I think my older brothers read it. My older brothers just hated Marvel and only read DC. And probably they couldn't get used to Kirby's artwork or something. I don't know. But
Were
see,
they
both
were
my
they
older
readers
brothers,
before Fantastic Four?
my older brothers were born, like 52, 54. They were about 10 years. Well, they're about maybe a little later. They were born 10 years before me, basically. So I was born in 65. So the comics they bought, I never were handed down to me, but I imagine they were I remember seeing my oldest brother reading Justice League, and because I remember the floating heads on the side, and I thought that was really cool. And they read war comics, and the middle brother was always telling me his proudest possession, comic book wise, was a complete run of Dial H for Hero, which was in House of Mystery. So but I know they read Legion of Superheroes, but I think I picked up an issue around, I think it was maybe the summer of 77, and thought it was really cool. The 70s Legion of Superheroes was cool. They dressed in this sleazy disco, showing all this skin, and I think I probably picked up one the summer of Star Wars, and they were in some bar or club with lots of aliens, like a la Star Wars. And I remember, that summer, because every summer, right about this time in early June, I feel like I need to go out and buy some 70s Legion of Superheroes comics. It's an instinct from 1977, 78. And so that's led me to getting multiple copies of a lot of issues in the 70s, because I got to go buy them. And then for some reason, the beginning of the summer, it's just a weird thing. But then I started getting the adventure comics at Lone Star Comics or wherever I could. And they were affordable for the most part. In the late 70s and into the 80s, you could afford adventure comics. You could afford 60s Fantastic Four comics in like good or very good condition. And they were, nice enough. They were together. They didn't look bad to me. I'd just be happy with a good condition copy of that Fantastic Four annual #1. I'm not someone that's like analyzing every corner, wanting to send it off to be slabbed. I'd rather it be in really nice shape, but as long as it's together and it's not falling apart. But I started buying a lot of Legion comics and Fantastic Four and Thor. I couldn't afford Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man was already up too high even then for me. And I had made myself content in the early days of my collecting in the 70s with Marvel Tales, not realizing those were edited. And I'm not sure exactly how much was edited, a page or two or a few panels, but they had I'm sure there are websites that tell you exactly what was cut out of each issue, or you could just compare. But my mom I may have said this the last live stream, my mom was a product of the Depression and didn't like me buying used things. She thought that was a terrible thing, I guess, just because of, her childhood. And so, she would not have been happy with me going out in 3rd or 4th grade buying used comic books. So, and that's when I could have afforded to buy all that stuff. But anyway, I was able to buy a lot of adventure comics. And so I pulled out this box #1. I don't really have that amazing a comic book collection, I don't think, compared to what I see other people on YouTube have. Just have a love for it. But yeah, so how did you discover Legion?
Oh, just casually. I was mostly I grew up more Marvel, but I uh, I I got a kick out of their names. Uh, Lightning Lad, Matter Eating Lad.
Yeah.
Just very very comical. But no, I really got a kick out of them. And for any of our viewers out there, if you can get your hands on this book right here, The Silver Age of Legion of Superheroes, I'm sure Eric has 17 of these probably. But it's the great thing about it is it starts you off with the very first, I think it's from 1958, and every time they showed up, even if it was very briefly, they'd reprint it, so you can really get a good handle on it, and they take you all the way up, even the Supergirl appearances and the substitute Legion superheroes and all that. Very good, especially you can't get your hands on a lot of those old ones. So I highly recommend it. Did you go ahead?
The cool thing about the Legion is that, well, for one thing, it was written by a 13, 14-year-old. So it wasn't 60-year-old guys sitting in an office in New York trying to write a story about teenagers. It was actually written by a teenager. And also, these characters were not established. They didn't make toys of these characters. There weren't cartoon series based on them. So you could kill one or two of them off. You could have them get married. That you could change. You could do things with the characters. And there was something about it that felt more Marvel, which is probably what attracted you to it. Doom Patrol also was a very Marvel-like comic that DC put out. It felt different than the rest of the DC line. So that's the one thing that was great. I assume the lawsuit from the creators, the families of the creators of Superman, they've wrested away Superboy from DC. Can't use Superboy anymore, or they use a different kind of Superboy, I assume. You guys could probably explain this to me better, but I think that's why the Legion of Superheroes, I don't think they've ever heard of Superman now. But,
well, I know the first time when I don't know if it's anything to do with the lawsuit, but after the Crisis, when Byrne revamped Superman,
yeah,
he established him as starting as an adult. So in this iteration, there had been no Superboy, so they had to figure out a way to reconcile that with the Legion, and they did a story, I think, in Action Comics in Legion 37 and 38, where they figured out how to get around that, and then they found ways to bring him back a time or two since then. But
I didn't like, well, Crisis on Infinite Earths. I read it, but it was just, they were destroying everything I loved. I loved the confusing multiple Earths. I love that. I love that every summer the Justice League and Justice Society would meet for some crisis. I didn't like them doing away with all that. That was a very sad thing. And then that was just.
I'm a huge fan of pre-Crisis DC, but I think the first 5 years of DC post-Crisis are as good as any era in comics in the 45 years I've been reading.
Okay.
I really, I loved what they did with Superman, because as much as I like Superman was the character by then that everybody knew and nobody read, because outside of a brief run that Marv Wolfman did with Gil Kane in 82 or 3, any character development they tried to give him would just get forgotten in the next issue.
Yeah.
And it was all, I mean, they're fun stories to go back and read, But if you're looking for continuity and a universe that fits together, and this is why I don't read Marvel or DC now. Politics aside, none of it fits anymore because everything's an event and everybody's off doing their own thing. And if you can have hell, there was a time when there would be the smart Hulk in one book, Hulk Smash in another, mindless Hulk in a third book, all going on at the same time. But DC at least cleaned all that up for a time, and I really liked what they did. And so I mean, as much as I love going back and reading that stuff now, and it's always going to be there. And if they hadn't done that, I don't know if DC would have survived.
Yeah.
Eric, were you okay with the death of Flash, the death of Supergirl? I'm not saying you are bad if you do. That was no big deal to you, or
no? I figured there had to be some kind of stakes for the crisis.
Yeah,
and the Flash was another one of those books that had sales had almost completely stopped, which is unfortunate because the last 25 issues were fantastic. When Reverse Flash was going to kill Fiona, his fiance, the same way he killed Iris, and the Flash stopped him this time and killed him. And then dealing with the repercussions of that storyline lasted until the last issue of his book where he went off into the future, and then that led to his sacrifice and crisis. Supergirl, I love that character. There's something about her, whether it was the Jim Mooney drawn early issues where she's Linda Lee in the orphanage, to Linda Danvers, soap opera actress in Chicago, in Superman Family, and everything in between. But I guess that was an easy decision as a character they could kill off, that everybody's going to go, oh, and then realize, oh yeah, I don't care. I mean, I was probably the minority that said, oh man, that sucks. Yeah. But that lent weight to the crisis because you can do away with Earth X, Earth Q, Earth, BR 549. Nobody cares. But if you kill off a couple of characters that everybody recognizes, even if they're no longer reading them, that gives it weight. And I was okay with that. And actually, as far as I'm concerned, Wally West, was my Flash because he was. Barry Allen was there for the first 10 years, but Wally Allen was there for the next 20 that I was reading. And now they just seem to make a cottage industry out of screwing Wally over. But then again, I don't care because I'm out. I mean, I'd rather talk old stuff with you guys than read the new stuff and get aggravated.
Well, Grottu, do you have any adventures you want to show? Or Superboy? Or
Let's see.
While you're doing that, I'll quickly show one. Here's a good one where they're all chained up. Superboy with kryptonite, and I guess the other guy has lead. Lead was his weakness.
Graphic, do you know how to full screen yourself?
Grottu?
Me?
You want Grottu full screen?
No. So do you know how to do that so we can see the adventure?
Oh, yeah,
you're showing there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you know because I don't.
So I guess Colossal Boy, his weakness was lead. And here's another adventure. Chameleon Boy.
I like that cover.
Well, you want me to show some, or are you pulling?
Right, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, like I said, I don't have an astounding collection, but this is pre. I guess this is pre. This is 274. Let's see. I just have a few that are before the Legion. Here's 287. Here's 291, the Cleopatra cover.
I like that one.
It's nice.
Okay, 302, we're into Legion here. The End of Sunboy. This is 3. My eyes are going crazy. I think that's just 307. And see, 310, it's got, see, this is why I like the,
Oh, yes.
a dog on see, that's just what I love.
I'd love to see that today. Yeah.
That crazy Mort Wessinger stuff was just done away with by Crisis, and I just like this old stuff. Now, this is here. This is issue 312. This is a good copy. Yeah.
Yeah, they killed him off, and then kept trying to bring him back.
And then here's a lesser quality copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's just this stuff was so much fun, and I probably need to fill in holes in the collection. So this is probably going to make me want to. But what I have to do is write it all down, and I probably will do it in this same book where I wrote down everyone's ranks and army names, which comics I'm looking for, because then I wind up buying the same thing over and over again. Here's 317. I mean, some comics I remember, but then sometimes I've seen a comic so many times, I think I own it, or I'm not sure. There's 318. But, you know, there aren't many stores that have comics this old. This store called Duncanville Books has a lot of comics from this era that is in Duncanville, obviously. But the store where I'm working at does not have very much in this time period. I'll just show a couple more, and then you guys can do whatever. This is 321.
Sweet.
Probably. Oh, it looks like. See, I have 2 copies of 321. This one looks like it's in better shape. But I'll show one more because this is a perfect example. Actually, 2 more. I love the Super Pets.
Oh, yes, definitely.
They have a legion of Super Pets. I mean, this is what I like. I got it. Yeah, this Illuminati eye. That's great.
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll show for right now is this this cover. I don't see how any kid could not have bought this comic from the 7-Eleven spinner rack. And then, of course, I have 2 copies of it. So I'll start with the next one so someone else can go around.
Sure. Get a little into the 70s here.
Yeah.
Timberwolf
that's
cover.
The Wolverine issue.
Yeah. I always thought that there was a good similarity between Timberwolf. Yeah. Here's a nice one.
Yeah.
So how often are you going to find a book where someone is named Duo Damsel? You know.
Not often enough. Have they brought social justice warrior politics into the current Legion, whatever, or do they even have one?
Probably.
You don't want to know.
Oh. Okay.
I need better bags for some of these, and they have the My Comic Shop sticker on them, so
oh yeah,
that's why I'm pulling them out. Always liked Brainiac 5.
Yeah, Grottu. Englentine is a huge Legion fan. He's read every iteration, and Brian Michael Bendis, who's doing it now, that was the straw that broke his back. He quit. So,
Yeah.
however, what, 1957 or 8 or whenever it started to 2018 when Bendis started doing it, and he couldn't take it.
Oh, wow.
So I try to get the old Superboys. As you can see from the bottom, there's a Legion story here, and
Right.
it's always a backup story. But this, I could read these all day long. So. I don't know if Eric has any to pull. He didn't have much warning when I told him we were going to do this today.
Yeah, I don't have many adventure comics. I've got some later issues of Legion, but they're upstairs. Yeah, so I mean, I used to have a bunch in my old collection. I probably had from the early 300s up, but I don't anymore.
Eric, I haven't even got to read these. The Secrets of the Legion. Are these actual stories? Or are they just reprints? Or
No, they're new stories.
oh, good. So we're in the 1980s here.
Those are nice.
What did you think of the cartoon, the Saturday morning cartoon?
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, you see all these shows we don't see.
Well,
Well,
Grottu doesn't like sports. I'm a sports junkie, so that precludes me from watching a lot of the cartoons and stuff. There
was a Legion of Superheroes cartoon. They couldn't use Superboy, so they called him Superman, but he was a teenager. It was supposed to be Superman when he first started. So it was Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. They just had to call him Superman, but he was clearly drawn as a younger version. And it was, okay, so they had Batman, the animated series in the 90s, then they had a Superman one and a Justice League one. So this must have been about 15 years ago. There was a Legion. I've got a DVD that has a few episodes on it, but they weren't drawn as juvenile looking as the Teen Titans cartoon, but they were stylized.
Hey, graphic.
Yes,
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you mind if Englentine joins us?
he can. I don't know his email. Or can you send him your link? Will that still work for him?
I don't know. I don't know how to do that, but I think if you put the link for the stream in the chat, he can access it that way, I think.
All right. You guys talk while I figure out how to do that.
All right.
Well, I could show a few more comics if you want.
Even better.
Let's see. This is 326. Looks like they're doing voodoo. And I've got 2 copies of that. And then you've got 329 with Brainiac.
Graphic, if that doesn't work, you can just go on Twitter, follow Englentine, and send him the link like you did for me.
Okay.
There's 330.
Let me put Grottu, I'm going to put you full screen. I'm going to go do that on the other monitor.
Are there bizarro characters in the current political social justice warrior world of DC? Is there a bizarro Obama? And is there a bizarro Biden?
No, those only exist in this world, sir.
They don't have bizarro characters. Then what good is DC? That's the best thing they ever did.
No, it's I have not read any of the latest Legion, but I know it's just it is absolutely 100% politically correct.
if DC had any common sense, they'd be making movie versions of this instead of Batman v Superman. Why is it V instead of versus? Is that like some kind of legal lawyer thing? V?
No, I noticed when I'm watching the Reds game, one of the guys that works, does some of the announcing, he's always saying, pitcher v hitter. And that must be some kind of new thing that the kids are using. Who knows?
I don't understand. What else is? It's just weird. Yeah, and that guy is just such. That director Snyder, like whenever he takes something that's been completely storyboarded for him, like The Watchmen, and adapts that, or 300, but when he tries to do something on his own, it just turns out to be just awful. I was trying to watch this Army of the Dead that's on cable or streaming or whatever. It's just like really bad. The guys, there's something like mentally wrong with them. Like, who wants to see Batman and Superman fighting? That's just the most idiotic 10-year-old. I wonder who would win if they fight. You know, that they were always friends. You know, it's like, what? I just can't. And then, of course, he says, well, there's no room for Jimmy Olsen's not going to exist in my movies. So he has a Jimmy Olsen character and kills him off instantly in the whatever that movie was, that Batman versus Superman. I'm not telling issue numbers, but I'm sure people can look them up. Who's really into Legion of Superheroes is Metarog, but he'd be a cool guy to have on. But he moved out to the country or somewhere where he doesn't have very good internet access, so he doesn't do as many episodes anymore. He's a really nice guy.
So I've seen some of his videos. I think I think I might have found him through you.
Yeah, Metarog, and he's good. This is one of those purple covers that there were certain things that DC was convinced these sold covers, which were dinosaurs, gorillas, and purple covers, and there's some other things too. I've seen a whole list, but
what about girls in swimsuits and heels? Did that work?
I don't know if that would have worked. Well, it would have worked, but I don't know.
I don't know if it would have worked on the audience that they were aiming at, but
yeah, I guess I've got 2 copies of that. Well, that's what they use now, right? Because all these covers I see have nothing to do with the contents of the issue. They're just covers with girls posing, it seems like.
Yeah, even those have gone away now because the audience that they're going after does not seem to like attractive women. So it's an odd landscape now. I said it's not one that I said, I'm having too much fun reading the old stuff to care about what's going on with the new stuff.
Yeah, there's, if there's, as long as there's enough old stuff to, oh, hey.
Howdy.
Hey there, fella.
I am excruciatingly jealous of the things I am seeing here.
Good.
Yeah, they are, well, not of the face, but of the comics anyway. Yeah, at some point in time, I have owned all of these.
Yeah, it's best not to think about it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, had to sell that collection more than a couple of times, and this is pretty sweet. I heard you guys talking about the Bendis. Is it all SJW all the time? It was god awful. They did the same thing they always do. Lightning Lad because he's got red hair. They're black characters now. They did the thing where the last one I read was the Frontier. What was that? Infinite Frontier, the big storyline that was happening for a while.
Yeah.
And it was first of all, it was ugly. It was just ugly to look at, and it was so poorly written. Nobody liked each other. No, there was no unity, no dynamic. I don't know what they were going for. It's literally one of those books you can look at and go, who exactly is this for? Because it just seems like there is no audience set for this.
Yeah. You said now there seems to be a war on characters with red hair. Is that
Yeah.
what you're?
It's called the Ginger Side. Yeah, where
So-
basically all red-haired characters are being changed. Now, it used to be just in other media, but it's starting to happen now, or it started happening a little bit ago.
I guess Medusa gets a pass.
And she should
Well,
as well.
I've noticed it in other media with Lana Lang being Hawaiian in Smallville. And
Yeah.
then, Jimmy Olsen in the TV show Supergirl
Yeah.
didn't have
Kid
red
Flash.
hair. And Kid Flash. Yeah, it's like it's like an attack on Ireland or something.
Yeah, there you go. It's ridiculous.
Now they're
what they're
shooting
doing.
red-haired girls.
Wait,
Oh,
what?
that was the cover of the show. They were Atlanta was
there you
covered
go.
by
Very timely.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to hold on. You know, it's like there are books that I like out there, but sometimes it feels like I'm grasping. Like as Eric said once, Donny Cates is a good writer because he's writing next to Vita Ayala. You know, it's not that he's such a great writer. You put him up against Marv Wolfman, you put him up against somebody like that, and he collapses. He'll crumble. But because of the writing that we get, or I'll say it. Let's go modern. Put him up against Robert Venditti. I don't think he's as good as Robert Venditti these days. But
no, I didn't go quite that far, but I'd say he would not have stood out in other eras like he does now.
I think so. I agree with you. And I heard you talking about Teen Titans before I started my my live stream on my other channel, or the channel that I'm on now. And
Do you think I thought they whined too much?
Yeah, I do know that the history of it was, of course, you had a whole bunch of Marvel people move over to DC at that point in time. And I do know that they wrote the Teen Titans to be their X-Men. And the X-Men are whiners all the way through. And they're the same thing. You know, oh, woe is me, I'm a berserker. Oh, woe is me, I'm, you know. I got to tell you something. I love the Teen Titans. I love that run, and I will stand up for it any day. You're absolutely right that they do that in every issue, though. I completely agree with you. It's just something that I accept as that's what they did at the time. I mean,
I kept reading. Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to any Stan Lee in the 1960s. Silver Surfer, in my opinion, is the worst.
Yes.
Every issue. Oh my God! I used to be a cosmic guy. Yeah.
Okay, you take what was going on in Teen Titans then. Now take the issue of Champions, where Miles Morales and Riri Williams are sitting on top of an airplane that has crashed. The plane is loaded with hundreds of dead bodies, and they're arguing about privilege. I will take the whining.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it comes right down to it, though, worrying that if you use your power, you'll bring forth a demon that will cause the destruction of the earth, that's a problem.
That's what I said.
Worrying about your superpowers killing you, so you do want to quit superheroing, yet superheroing keeps dragging you back. That's a problem. White privilege doesn't exist. Not a problem. You know,
I told Breen, I think my problem was I didn't allow 20 to 30 days in between each story, and I binge read them, or the new Netflix term, binge watching. Mm-hmm. And I think had I allowed some passage of time, I wouldn't have noticed so much. But it's like too much too soon, I guess. But no, the art kept me coming back time and time again. I loved it.
You know what? I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I don't know if you thought about it, but it's going to make you incredibly sad. And but I feel it is something I need to point out. there is 200 years worth of comic book reading on this panel right now. Just get that out there. It's true. But no, I got to tell you, even like Breen said, even I'll take the wordy panels. I'll take, because you know what? The dialogue was character. I'll take the whining. I'll take that, because you know what? At least it gave us some character. These days, it's like they watched Pulp Fiction and they took the wrong lessons from it. You know, Pulp Fiction was new because you would have people talking about pop culture while they were doing something else. They weren't saying, oh, we're going on a mission. You're on a mission. I'm on a mission. What about this mission? This is the mission. This is mission. Okay. You know, it was dialogue like people would really talk. Unfortunately, somewhere around there, it got twisted, and now it's things nobody really says. Nobody says this in conversations with each other, and that's where we're getting on the printed page. And it's there to make it seem like they are hip, like they are cool, rather than just we want to create this character, we want to elevate this person. And it just doesn't work. Well, not to us old farts anyway.
No, that's it. You are 100% right.
Usually. Tell Gail that.
I will next time I see her.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I'm derailing, so please, by all means, guys. But there you go.
When I first
No, go ahead, man.
Oh, I was gonna say, when I first started reading Spider-Man around 74, and it's just all the Spider-Man was just, oh, if I could have just saved Gwen, you know, just nonstop. And then I read in Marvel Tales the older Spider-Man stories, where it's just not all this grief all the time. It was just, and they never should have. I don't think they should have killed off Gwen Stacy. I agree with that Mexican comic company that just let her live. But I don't know, I don't know what they're doing in the comics now. I hear things. I hear crazy, like insane clips of, there's some red-haired, I think, Eric, you told me who the woman was. I don't know what comics she writes, but there was these clips on the internet of this woman's thing. Well, you don't like my politics, just don't read my comics.
Kelly Sue DeConnick.
Magic.
Yeah.
What does she write? What is she famous for?
Captain Marvel, and then she stole my Aquaman from Dan Abnett.
She was,
Okay.
before she became Kelly Sue DeConnick, internet influencer, however much influence you can have as a comic book creator, she actually was pretty good. I went back and I found things I remember liking, if I didn't remember who wrote them, and turns out some of them were her, just like Gail Simone at one point could write. But once the industry shifted to where anybody that belonged on the progressive stack stopped having to have to try, her writing just diminished. Is that fair, E?
I think so. I think I think you got it, and I also would add on that it seems like she started to believe her own hype. You know, like she got a little bit of strength behind her, got a little bass in her voice, and all of a sudden she can do no wrong, and she's willing to actually sacrifice an entire audience for somebody who isn't there yet, which is something I've talked about ad nauseum, is that they seem to be going for this. If you ever hear them talk about potential comic book readers, they say, well, potentially there's more female comic book readers than there are male because of manga. And like, that's potential. You got to look at that word. It's not that there's more female comic book readers, there's potential. And what they're doing is they're willing to throw those of us. I mean, let's face it, guys, we're in our 40s, 30s among us, and we've been buying this like it's our crack cocaine. We just go for these characters. I want all the Legion. I want all of them. Give it to me. and they're willing to sacrifice that for something that doesn't exist. And this is one of the reasons why one of the many reasons why I think the industry is in the toilet, because they're willing to sacrifice the audience they have in hand for an audience that, in all honesty, isn't much interested. Manga readers are manga readers. They're not necessarily comic book readers, and that's what they're going for. And anyway.
Well, they took a hobby that was geared to boys and kicked the boys out. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Whether it's the boys that created the comics or the boys that read them.
And if they had any common sense, well, what killed the whole industry was direct distribution. When comics were sold only in comic stores, and normal kids didn't go in comic stores. We did, but the average kid that was out playing baseball in the 50s that read Superman and whatever, Tales from the Crypt, they bought them at stores, drug stores. They were there when they went in to get a Coke or a Milky Way. There were comics. They bought them. They were inexpensive. There wasn't as many entertainment options. You just had, 3 channels, black and white TV. So when they went to direct distribution, they were no longer in the 7-Elevens, and it was only the nerds that were seeing the comics. And then by the time, I had students, they didn't know these characters were even comic book characters. They thought they came from cartoons or video games. They had no idea that they started in comic books. They don't even know, they've never seen a comic book. Kids in 7th, 8th grade that have never seen a comic book ever. And now they try to get them in Walmarts, but they charge too much for them. And then people our age go and buy all of them and hoard them, and the kids never see them. They're too expensive. Marvel put out these comics for $1. These True Believers comics that reprint old. They need to flood the market with these dollar comics. Get them into regular retail stores, 7-Elevens, and they need to get the stories that are being adapted into the movies into the hands of the kids, because I guess what they're thinking is that this generation, the adults that buy these comics, how are we going to replace them? There aren't younger people reading them for the most part, and
that is true. They need to find that.
Figure they're going to sell them. What's that?
But the problem is even the younger people don't want to use the term, these woke comics. Nobody wants wokeism. Except for the people who are that, and that's a very small niche. They're a very loud minority on Twitter that fool people into believing that they're a very large majority of consumers, and they're not. They don't consume. A lot of them don't even have jobs to make money, and as soon as the free money dries up and they've got to get back to work, they'll get a dose of reality. But until then, they're getting checks from mom and dad, and now mom and dad government. But they have no sense of reality, and so they're not the consumers that these comic book companies think they are. Nope, I didn't do it.
we had trouble at the beginning. He'll be popping back in.
Okay. So long as I didn't offend Grottu to the point of God damn it. No, I'm just kidding.
His phone was doing pretty good there for a while.
But will he come back, one of them or two of them, like when I first turned this on?
He's already back.
Anyway, but that's my thought on the subject. And I don't know. It's one of those things. I love what he said though about the idea about getting those dollar books into the Walmarts. Why? I get it. They're putting overstock into Walmarts. That's what goes in there. If you look at Future State, that was what I was thinking about earlier. If you look at Walmart right now, those packs, they're filled with the Future State stuff. By the way, the dinner bell just got rung. So as a fat guy, I can't ignore it. I have to be true to my people. But thank you very much for having me on. I certainly appreciate it.
No problem. Good to have you.
All right. You guys have a good one.
You
See you
too.
tonight.
Good night.
Just real
Okay.
quickly, I'll show a couple more Bronze Age. You probably remember having some of these.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Great thing about that is reprints, some of the older stuff too. What'd you think of the Karate Kid?
When I first saw that, when I first bought that, my focus was on something else on the cover.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the coloring is outstanding.
That's what I meant.
You know, they had to, when the Karate Kid movie was made, they had to acknowledge the comic book in the closing credit. I guess to keep from being sued.
When I saw that movie, I never even thought about the character of the book. Karate Kid even shows up in Commandy, so briefly near the end.
Yeah.
By the way, I absolutely love Commandy. I don't like
I just bought a Blu-ray
the second or third time they did it, but I like the original 59 run, 59 books. Go ahead.
Well, there's a Blu-ray that just came out, a Justice Society cartoon, and there's an extra on the Blu-ray, like a 10 or 15 minute long short of Commandy animated in the Jack Kirby style. I have not even taken the shrink wrap off it yet, but I'm eager to watch that. It's a brand new release. But you know, we were talking about these I don't know what made me think of it. We were talking about characters talking conversationally like real people, but they don't get it. We were talking that they're talking about all this woke stuff. There was, I think it was one of those ultimate comics that I guess in retrospect were designed to show Hollywood how they could adapt their characters, Marvel. And they had a Marvel team up comic. And of course, in Marvel team up, Spider-Man's supposed to fight against some bad guy and team up with some other hero. And there was, I'm trying to remember it. Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man and the X-Men. And instead of a fight, there was no battle in the comic at all. I think the whole comic took place in the food court of a mall. And Peter Parker and I guess Mary Jane were there eating. And then the X-Men were sitting at the table next to them. And I guess Mary Jane was asking them what it's like to be a superhero, not realizing that she's sitting across from a superhero. And Peter Parker has to pretend he doesn't know them because he's met and fought with the X-Men before. But Wolverine knows that it's Spider-Man because he can smell him. And even without the mask, he knows that, hey, this guy's Spider-Man. So it's all this real cagey conversation where Wolverine's saying little things where he's, and then Peter Parker's wondering, does he know? And it's like that really, really good scene in the first of the new Spider-Man movies where he's off going to the prom or whatever with another red-haired character that's no longer red-haired, as we were talking about, Mary Jane.
Oh yeah.
And they're in the car, and it's like, they're being driven by. He's being driven by. No, wait, it wasn't Mary Jane. I guess I don't remember. But anyway, whoever he's taken to the prom.
It was the Vulture's daughter.
The Vulture's daughter, but was that supposed to be Mary Jane, or was it a different girl?
I thought they called her Liz
whatever.
Allen.
Was it Liz? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they were combining families and stuff.
It's just like, okay, my dad, his dad is driving them to the prom or to the dance or whatever, and then it turns out to be the Vulture, and it's like Michael Keaton, and he's figuring out that this guy's Spider-Man, but he has to be nice to him because it's his daughter's. It's such a great scene, when that stuff is like right out of the comics. When they get that feel, it's so good, it's and they do that more than that Captain Marvel movie was pretty miserable, and I guess it's because that weird woman was really based on her run, but and of course Nick Fury was made tough as a younger guy by Captain Marvel. It's like he was like this guy that petted cats, and then he becomes tough because she teaches him to be tough.
Marvel has gone through a weird transition in the movie universe last few years, and the problem with Captain Marvel, again, with just a little tweaking, could have been a very good movie, but they hired an actress who is better suited for drama. The kind of she's an Oscar bait actress, and she probably not the best choice to play a superheroine. And she's a very polarizing person, or she's become one, because she's bought into the whole, victimization bit. And when she was at an award show and she goes, I don't really care what a 40-year-old white dude thinks about whatever movie she just made. She goes, it wasn't made for you. And that, not everybody sees that, but those that did, they kind of take that personally. And when they made it to where Nick Fury lost his eye because, Scrotum the cat or whatever scratched it out, I'm sorry. And we're supposed to say, oh, that's so cute because it's, it's a cute kitty in Captain Marvel. No, it's the MCU is going so good. And they can say, well, this movie made $1 billion. Yeah, it was between the two Avengers movies. This conversation could have grossed $1 billion if it was under the MCU banner between the two Avengers.
So I'm hearing that this new Loki series, which starts in, I guess, less than 48 hours, is getting good reviews. So we'll see. Oh, Sergeant Fury.
Yeah. There's where he lost that eye.
Where's the cat?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And of course, the ultimate line is what established that he would play that role, because before the movies were even a glimmer in anyone's eye, that they were drawing him to look exactly like Samuel L. Jackson, with the thought that they would get that actor. So then, of course, but I think the movies were doing a really good job of staying pretty close to the spirit, if not the letter, of the 60s and 70s comics. And then someone, I think it was Man Bear Pig, I don't know if he's still watching, he was telling me, well, what they suddenly did recently is they skipped over about 30 years of comics, and now they're getting into the current storylines, which is probably not good for that. I don't know. There are things that seem a little odd. It's because they let the characters age between movies, and that amount of, like, between Avengers movies, that amount of years is what's supposed to have passed, and yet they don't really acknowledge that they've done a lot, and they've had a lot of adventures in that time. I don't know. To me, I think I said all this in the last live stream, but I'm pretty sure I was ranting the same rant about, tell me if I was, about the Thanos. I was talking about that, right? About the fact that all these people are gone for 5 years from Earth.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks they're dead. I talked about that, right? I think I did. I can't remember.
Maybe. I don't remember.
It just, well, if they're okay, so your wife disappears, you think she's dead, you get remarried 3-4 years later, and then she reappears. Okay, that's pretty disturbing. There's going to be, when all these people come back, it's not going to all be happiness. it's going to be a lot of suicides and murders, and your wife, your husband has kids with someone else because they thought you were dead, and so everyone comes back, and they shouldn't have been, I wouldn't have gone with 5 years. I know it's real dramatic and everything, but it's just and I guess, to me, in the comics, Galactus comes, they save the Earth, and then Johnny Storm's going off to college, and it's like it's forgotten that the world almost ended, last issue. And the whole Thanos thing has been carried over into several movies, into Spider-Man. It's been carried over into several TV series, and I just wish that they would let that go. And from what I hear, Loki is really the beginning of their new wave of movies. But I just let that go already. Let's go on to and no more gnashing of teeth over that, because that's not, comics don't do that. At least they didn't when I was reading them. Something horrible would happen, and then they'd move on to something else.
I agree. They shouldn't have skipped over some stuff. I would have loved to see the Avengers do something like this.
Nice.
That would have been a good Avengers #2, instead of bringing in Quicksilver just so you can kill him. Let's bring in Wonder Man. And
you're killing me here.
The Enchantress and the Executioner. And while we're at, let's bring in the Super Adaptoid. That would have been a great movie.
But the problem is that time passes and they've got the same actors and they want to go on and do other things. And they've got this idea that if an actor leaves, well, we just have to kill the character. Or it's really tragic that the guy that played the Black Panther passed away. But just cast another guy. There's thousands of actors in Hollywood that could do a great job as the Black Panther. You don't kill off James Bond because Sean Connery left. But I don't know. I just think some of this is ill-advised. The fact that now they don't have a Captain America, they don't have Iron Man, they don't have the Black Widow. And so now it seems like what they're doing is trying to get rid of the old. That's the old. We want the new woke heroes to come in. The new, all these young kids that are whatever. Even want to, because that's what they were doing with Star Wars, and it's the same company. They were like, let's get rid of Luke Skywalker. He's like an old asshole now. He may have been your hero, but he's just watch. I'm sorry about my language. And Princess Leia looks like she's been on meth for several decades. And of course, you have this fairy tale ending of Return of the Jedi. But of course, they're divorced now, and Han Solo's back to being the guy he was before even Star Wars happened. It just, because they just want to toss aside all the. You have a happy ending, and it's like, let's do a sequel to Cinderella where everything goes horribly, and then we'll bring in these new heroes that no one cares about, and they'll replace the bad old people that are no good, and that's the way I think they're. I don't know. Maybe they're not.
Problem with this idea that, and you're right. What made the MCU, now Iron Man was not a household name, but he was a recognizable figure, because you may have seen, your dad might have seen the cartoon from the 60s, you might have seen him on a lunchbox or a Trapper Keeper, because the images have been in the pop culture zeitgeist for decades. I mean, Superman and Batman, everybody knows who they are, whether you've read a comic book or not. You can't say that about the Marvel heroes, other than possibly Spider-Man. But you did, if you showed a picture of the Hulk to a normie, most of them are going to go, "Oh yeah, wasn't there a TV show with that one guy that?" So they were recognizable. When they come back and they try to do America Chavez or the new Ms. Marvel or whoever you want to put in there, they don't have decades of pop culture saturation. They're not known outside of the very shrunken down comic book readership. Now, or the people that got annoyed that the Avengers video game was actually a showcase for a teenage girl who was starstruck.
Oh.
So that's not, if that's their strategy, it's probably not going to go as well as they think.
I want to
Who is
quickly
America
answer.
Chavez?
Go ahead.
I don't know who that is. Who is that? Help me. Who's Amerigo Chavez?
America Chavez?
Is
She's
it America?
Yeah. She's a character who was in the Young Avengers in its second go round. But when Marvel started getting woke, for lack of a better term, they decided to change her from a bisexual alien to a all lesbian bitch with a new origin. And so they want her to be a Latina lesbian. So they went out and found a Latina lesbian who had never written a comic book before to write, and they gave her that title. And if you ever want some really funny entertainment, just type in America Chavez and watch, whether it's Eglantine. Captain Frugal shot an issue of the book on one of his videos. And I mean, like, boom. America, that's her name. She doesn't have a superhero name. It's just America.
Is she based on Captain America?
No, not really. It might have been loosely at the beginning, but then they wanted to make a political statement with her. And it was so bad. In one of the issues, she meets up with one of her old girlfriends. And the new Hawkeye, the teenage girl Hawkeye that they say is the real Hawkeye now, she's watching them get back together, and she's pining away going, if this is what it's like for women to date women, then I applaud all women dating women. And she goes on, while she's soliloquying, the girl is actually sticking America with a syringe to knock her out, to drag her off to a fight club. And this lady writing that was just so comically bad, she did not get. She wrote that thinking she'd written some great story. I mean, it is cartoonishly bad, but she's the character. Well, they hired an actual writer. Actually, it's the lady that's writing the next Star Trek movie.
Oh,
now she's also Latina and lesbian, but she's also a qualified writer. And they just wiped out everything that this other lady had done with the character, and just gave her a new everything, except for the lesbian part, because one thing you do not do in comics now is, like, Iceman will never be straight again. That is absolutely that. If you make a character gay, you ain't going back. Twitter will not allow that. So, but everything else about her was scrapped from that god awful run that this lady did.
While there's a pause, I want to answer a question from Movie World. He was asking earlier about, was this Spider-Man and Dr. Doom story reprinted? There was no Dr. Doom story. I was looking at it on my scans earlier, and it's just a cover gallery of supervillains. The Spider-Man is a backup story from Amazing Spider-Man #1.
okay.
Yeah.
I think he's back. He had to go to eat dinner but
Man Bear Pig's pointing something out. There was an issue of America where they ran over this cat, and one of the other YouTubers named one of his companies Splato del Gato after that. And that's probably the most lasting legacy out of that run.
Oh, well,
aim high.
Man, it's sad what's become of the industry, but if you don't have these comics out where kids can see them, if they don't even know they exist, then there's no real hope. And the social justice warriors, like he said, don't buy comics. They just applauded on Twitter.
Yeah,
like they applauded all this stuff going on in the Star Wars movies, but they never went to see the movies. They just think it's great that they're doing it.
Yeah, the first two movies, the first Force Awakens and whatever the one that followed that, there was a $700 million drop between the two movies, and Disney was fine with that. And that kind of told me that, in case anybody wonders why they keep doing this over and over again when they keep losing money and keep having diminished audiences or make less money, this is why. This is what they want. This is the entertainment that they're going to make sure that we get, no matter how much they have to lose in the short term. They're playing a long game, and that long game doesn't include, people like us.
But the question is, and this is the big question maybe of the whole discussion, is who is or who are they? Is it the people in charge of Disney? Is it the people in charge of Marvel?
Yes.
Well, hold on. Yes, but are there people above them? I mean, you get into conspiracy thinking. Who else talks about long games and how we'll just work, and it may take 70 years, but we'll change things. Who else in the history books, although they've kind of rewritten history books, talks that way?
Well, we're not allowed to say that on the air.
Well, okay, that could be, but I'm somehow.
But more in a real world, as far as without getting into conspiracies, the people that have risen to heights in these major corporations were educated at a time when they were taught that America's bad, capitalism is bad. So now they're in a position to do something about it. Yeah, because they're at the top of a lot of these corporations.
Of course, but who owns Sony? Who owns AMC? Who owns a lot of the entertainment industry? Who owns a lot of networks? Who owns? I mean, if they can if they can cause American youth to not want to reproduce, to not want to be tough, meanwhile, over in their, we'll just talk about like in the villains in Johnny Quest. You don't know what country they're from. Who knows what country, but those villains in the Johnny. We'll just say it's the villains from the Johnny Quest, whatever country they're from. Let's say they own our industry, the entertainment industry, and Marvel's just comics is just one little tiny wing within this bigger company that's owned. And meanwhile, over in their Johnny Quest villain country, they're teaching their youth to be tougher. They're discouraging all of this social justice kind of stuff. It's like, well, why do they want us to be weak? What and it is, and it could be that evil enemy, other enemy countries, or. And then you could say, who are they? Who's even above that? Could be Lucifer. It could be dark forces that are behind wanting to bring America down. I mean, it could be that this is just, we're just looking at comic books, so just one little splinter of an entire worldwide war against humanity and just getting rid of us. Maybe it's aliens, maybe it's demons, maybe it's just some foreign country that wants to bring us down. Who knows? But I just don't think that this, all we've been through in this last year is just.
It's easy. It's very easy to think along those lines, like there might be about 5 or 6 George Soros types, and they're all I'm going to take care of the movie industry. You take care of the print media. You take care of this. You take care of social media, because the decisions they're making are not based on economics, because they would be giving just the opposite.
We're in the United States of America, and we're scared. I'm having to use all these analogies and metaphors because there's no freedom of speech. What happened?
Yeah.
I thought we had that.
You're right, Greg. If this were based in economics, you know who wouldn't be banned from you know what and you know where.
Definitely.
So
this is just. And
yeah.
meanwhile, okay, so if you want to bring down, like, immediately, the first thing that was done by an individual was signing to close an oil pipeline. And then this other oil pipeline mysteriously gets hit by ransomware, and all of a sudden our gas is sky high. And instead of $20, I'm paying $40. And then the price of food and everything else is going to go up. And it's just getting back to comic books. When I started reading comics, they were 15 cents. And when I stopped reading them, they were probably $1.75. And that was probably 10 years. 15 possibly. And it's like, so we're about to start from where comics are $7 to the point where I don't know who's buying all these variant covers. That's the other problem. Is these
I remember
covers. That's good.
I remember the old days of complaining $1.50. I have to pay $1.50 for this. some Avenger book or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so let's say I wanted to look for Action Comics 283, but there were 20 variant covers of this.
Yeah.
And it's 50 years from now, 60 years from now. How am I going to find that comic? And I was talking to Charlton 66 the other night on the phone. I wish it was a live stream because our conversation was great, but maybe we can recreate it in 2 nights on Wednesday. But he said, have you looked at the Overstreet price guide lately? And I did the next day, and I can't. The print's tiny, and they have to account for every variant cover. It's insanity. It's lunacy. When I first saw the price guide in the summer of '76, I spent the whole summer poring over it, learning about the golden age and looking at the little covers that were about the size of a postage stamp. And everything made sense. And you could understand it. This was in Seduction of the Innocent or Parade of Pleasure. You learn the little acronyms. There weren't that many. And then all of us, what have they done? It's like they know that it's a bunch of 50-year-old men buying these comics, and they know that they're a little bit nuts, and so a lot of them have obsessive compulsive disorders, so they have to get all the covers. So it's really wrong, I think, to come out with a comic with 40 covers. And I try to look, because I don't know these new comics. So it's Iron Man #1. Used to be there was one Iron Man #1. Now I'm flipping through. I go to mycomicshop.com on my phone, and there's 4 or 5 pages scrolling of Iron Man #1. Ridiculous.
You know why there's the variants have gotten so prevalent? Because you can't flip your computer file from where you sailed the high seas to read that issue. As much as I hate variants, if it wasn't for those, I don't even know if there'd be any new comic sales anymore.
Probably not.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate because. But let's also be honest, the content isn't nearly as good as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And anybody that argues that it is hasn't read that stuff or is committed to the ideological differences in the books, because I said it's but as far as like I said, piracy is an enormous problem. And again, I said, at least the variance forces you to buy the physical copy. Even if your only motivation is to try to flip it, at least the store got the money once.
You mean piracy and that people like put it online?
With any rudimentary computer skills, which I would have to increase mine to get to, you would never have to pay for another new comic again. Every book that comes out on Wednesday is already up on somebody's site for free. No exceptions.
Well, it wouldn't be a problem if they didn't charge so much for the comics. if they
Well, there's people though that are going to take free over $1.50. Maybe nobody in this stream, but human nature. You can't beat free. But but then again, the industry also doesn't do anything to promote collecting comics either. These books that are coming out now, they're not meant to collect. If they were, there would be some of these books would be on issue 870 instead of volume 17, issue 4.
That's the other problem, is starting over with numbering.
You go to a convention, 99% of the people that are looking through back issues are looking for that initial run. The rest of it's, either too complicated or not worth the effort, because even if you find them, are you going to care that much about stories? And if you do, let's go buy the trade.
Yeah, it's something else. So that's what just keeps driving me back to the older comics.
Speaking of, I actually do have a couple I want to show that I might pick these up today.
I'll put you on full screen.
All right.
By the way, Strangelife is coming in here in a second.
Oh, cool.
Nice. And
nice Atlas. I of course have the bronze version of that. Gorgo.
Got these for $1.
Life is
that's cool.
in here in a second.
Oh, cool.
Hey, I'm hearing echoes. Is that on my end?
Oh, nice Atlas. Yeah, I have the bronze version of that. Gorgo.
Got these for $1.
Life is
that's cool.
in here in a second.
Is that echo coming from me?
Yeah. That was our instant replay, folks. If you have any more, Eric? Yeah, bronze version.
No, that's
Gorgo.
got these for $1. Wow, triple play.
In a second.
Holy shit. Is that echo coming from me?
Yeah. There's our instant replay, folks. If you have any more, Eric? Do you have headphones?
Got these for $1.
I think there's a
triple
delay.
play.
Holy shit. Is that echo coming from me?
Yeah. There's our instant replay, folks.
All right.
We're on a loop.
Do you have headphones?
Got these for $1.
I think there's a delay. Holy shit. Shit. Fuck me.
We're on a loop.
I tell you what, maybe you can mute your microphone in the meantime until you figure it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Some of these scenes were filmed in Confusovision. He's still in the loop here.
Well, we're going to hear that F-bomb about 5 more times now.
I'm sure that's easily fixed.
Yeah, before we get pulled by YouTube, let me just go ahead and dedicate this whole video to the great country of Taiwan. That'll get us pulled.
They're not going to pull. They don't get you for language. Maybe if you were monetized, but I think we were just this side of being okay as far as I already asked about the auction the other night. Was the gentleman that came on, is he the guy that runs the auction?
Yeah, should have introduced him. But yeah, I said
really see him.
Yeah,
he's the one.
I'm sorry.
He's the one that has all the books on the little bitty stands.
Okay.
Yeah. And he has the wonderful bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it talk?
No, but God, I wish it would. It would beat the hell out of that infernal chirping.
Welcome to Silver Age, Dave, joining us.
Yeah, I see that. Cool. Yeah, he's one of my original heroes on YouTube. I've told the story a few times. My wife's mom and her sister and her son were flooded out in Houston with that hurricane about 4 years ago. So my wife went down for several months to help them during all that process where they were relocated and having to fix everything. And so I was left alone pretty much for a couple of months, more than a couple of months. And so I would just watch. I just watched YouTube, and then I saw Captain Strangelife and Silver Age Dave, and because always going in comic stores, I was very annoyed by everyone around me, and going to comic conventions, it was horrible. And then to see there are people my age or approximately my age that are like really interesting and cool, and it's like I never saw that. Maybe I just went at the wrong time to the comic store, or maybe they were like me, they went in quietly and immediately left. But the people who just sit around and shoot I'm trying to clean my language up in comic stores were just, it was, these Simpson stereotypes were so accurate. They were just, it was like I thought Star Trek was really cool when I was a kid because my older brother was into it, and I loved Star Trek. And then when I first met what most Star Trek fans are like, it was like, oh no, am I one of them? It's just I don't know, not to be an elitist or anything, but so to find out there are all this whole network or community of cool, interesting people that like the eras of comics that I liked was a neat thing. So that's a cool thing that YouTube did. Is Captain Strangelife coming back?
He's trying to. He says he's trying to fix the problem.
Even his
Eric,
comments are on a loop.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Eric, have you seen Silver Aged Dave?
I have seen a few of his videos. In fact, I one of the things I've been trying to find for a couple of years, since I've been trying to buy back little pieces of my childhood, was a first issue of the first What If series. And damned if the next video he posts doesn't have 3 of them on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And I said, now I know where they all are. So,
it was about a week and a half ago. He was just showing some regular books that were more contemporary. And I typed in the comments, hey, that was a Bronze Age you had there. Show that again. And then Grottu was also in the chat. He's going, yeah, show more Bronze Age. And so we between me and Grottu, we made it look like there was a groundswell of public outcry wanting to see bronze. And so he pulls out a whole box of bronze and starts showing all these great bronze issues.
He'll have like a whole box of Tales of the Zombie #1 because he likes to collect multiples. And it's like when I get a multiple, I'll go, gosh darn it, I could have bought other comics. And I accidentally got a multiple, but with the exception of like certain issues of Not Brand X, I will buy like as many every time I find that. I don't know if it's issue #6, the one that has the origin of Superman and the origin of the Fantastical Four. I collect 40-50 copies of that anytime I see it. It's because it was such an important part of my childhood. It's wonderful. It encapsulates everything we were just talking about Superman and how crazy it was in the 50s.
Which one do you think it is?
Huh?
Which one do you think it was?
Probably about 6. But I didn't first see it because I was too young. I saw it as Crazy #3. That's it. If you open it up, if you know Fantastic Four #1, it's panel for panel a parody of the original. It was laid out by Jack Kirby, and then Marie Severin went over either that or it was just Marie Severin. They gave Kirby credit because she was just basically doing every pan. It's just wonderful. And it's got I think James Bond is like at the bottom left. I think the policeman's James Bond. I remember all of this. Sammy Davis, Sean Connery. The Three Stooges are going to appear helping Johnny Storm build a hot rod. It's just great. I loved it. Maybe you got to be in 3rd or 4th grade to really understand. And then there's Ringo Starr, window cleaner. I mean, it's just. Oh, and the last page of this where Superman's just in despair because all the Marvel heroes are surrounding him. It's just it would make a great poster if you can. It's a full page. Yeah, it's like all the Superman characters, but go to the last page.
Oh yeah.
It's like if you can move that close to the camera and show all it's just wonderful. But yeah, that's why I still Marie Severin and John Severin are and they even got the Nipper dog from RCA.
Yeah.
They're sniffing there's a dark origin of Nipper. Do you know where that came from? The RCA dog that's listening to the gramophone, and it says his master's voice, and it just seems cute because he's hearing his master's voice and he's cocking his head like, "How's
Was
my
it
master
you or
coming out?"
Strangelife? I think it was Strangelife that was talking about that.
Oh, okay, could have been.
Maybe it was you. I don't know.
I don't know, but if you ever go back over 100 years and see the original painting, that they don't show what's below. What you just think he's sitting on the floor and there's a gramophone there. He's actually sitting on a coffin. His master's in the coffin and he's listening to. Then it turns into something horrible when you see that dog on the record label. You're wanting to cry, but they cut that part out, and it's just it's cute. It's just
Strangelife is back. We're going to
Cool.
give it another shot. I don't know what to do if it doesn't work, so this might be comical, but we'll give it a shot. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Okay, how are you guys?
There he
All
is.
right.
All right.
Hey.
I had to put on a Bluetooth. I hate wearing this thing, man. I look like a space cadet.
No, you look like you're launching missiles. Good. It looks good.
Yeah, I hear you, old Captain Video.
You kind of look like one of those one of the coaches up in the press box calling down the offensive line plays.
oh yeah.
I just got back. I was at the lakefront. I took my wife down there after I did some work at my brother's house, and then I was flying a kite over on Cricket Hill. There was this big hill there in Chicago, right on the lakefront, and then kind of relaxing. It's very tranquilizing, unlike a lot of the new comics that you read today.
Well, I don't know if you'll catch the replay or not, but we've shown some Fantastic Four annuals and some Legion of superheroes. But go ahead.
I thought this was originally supposed to be next Monday, so I'm kind of unprepared. Legion. You were talking about that, right? That you were gonna.
Yeah, we've shown some Legion, and we did a little talk about
I thought
annual.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, I have
really figured out
collected
the
Legion superheroes, but I really don't collect. I mean, I really don't read the new ones.
Right.
No. I
I
don't
haven't
know
read
who
any
does.
new stuff lately. I haven't read any new comics for about 6 months.
You're not missing anything.
No.
I just got some of these from Grottu today, though. I got my
You got the stuff.
yeah.
That
Just
means
arrived today.
graphic man, you must have gotten your box too.
I haven't been notified by my family yet. So
Okay. Because I mailed Graphic Man's box and I mailed that to you, Captain. So yeah, those were in that comic shop I work at. I mean, they're not in perfect condition or anything, but they're cool.
Hey, speaking of Grottu, I remember that last live stream that you were talking about this a TV series back in the early '60s. I think it was you forgot what it was. It was a Naked City, I think you were talking about, or there's a newsstand because they film it live on the streets of New York.
It could have been Naked City. I don't know what it was.
City because I'm familiar with that episode. I watched that several times where they have a copy of Amazing Fantasy hanging there in front of the new or on the inside front of the newsstand, along with Journey to Mystery 83.
Oh yeah.
That was right next to it, and it also starred Burgess Meredith about 4 years before he became the Penguin.
I wonder if there's a way to get that episode from somewhere.
I have it on. I got it on tape. I don't know. Maybe I can record it and send you a copy of it.
Guys, I'll be right back.
sure.
But what's interesting about that episode? Have you ever watched the whole episode?
I've never seen it. I've just seen a still from it on the internet.
It's towards the end of the episode. The guy that kills Burgess Meredith is in the police station, and he says something on the order of I knew it. This deal is for the birds. This is not good for you, Stanley. Instead of saying Stanley, he says Stanley. So it's kind of weird, I listened to it, and I'm trying to hear. He should be saying Stanley, but he says Stanley. So I don't know if that was done on purpose or what, but it was kind of interesting. That was right.
I don't know that anyone knew who Stanley was at that point.
I know it's kind of interesting, though. It's just probably just a coincidence, but I noticed that right away. But anyway, so I don't
What
really.
what year do you think that was?
Tired.
What year do you think that was?
That was 1962, and it was right after a few months after Amazing Fantasy came out, and it was season 4, I think, episode 1 of The Naked City.
Okay.
So they filmed that on real city streets and not on a back lot.
Yeah, that was
You
filmed
think
on
they
the streets.
dressed the back lot.
Yeah, on the filmed on the streets of New York. Very interesting.
Well, that's yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on this kick, wanting to get the Marvel superheroes cartoons from the '60s because I've watched them as a kid, and I've got a few VHS cassettes, but I want the whole series. And you were saying that the animation was so bad. Yeah, it was bad, but I love the acting and the music. The music is so great. And but then the other day, SMU, this university in Dallas, they released they've got this film library. They put up film of a Stan Lee promotional film promoting that upcoming series. And originally they were going to have Spider-Man as part of that series, and they show the crude animation with Spider-Man. And then at the end, you see Stan Lee, and he's almost completely bald and without his goatee.
Yeah.
And it's like right before he decided to become this hipster. It's just really interesting.
It's just animated story panels from the comic books.
Yeah, they basically Xeroxed them and then painted them.
He's got it.
What do you have there?
Yeah.
So if I start at the beginning and just work my way through, eventually I'll get to that newsstand issue episode.
Did you say it was season 4?
Ooh.
I think it's called, the episode is called Hold for Gloria Christmas.
It is Burgess Meredith in it.
Yeah, it's season 4, episode 1, I think.
Oh yeah, here we go. Hold for Gloria Christmas. Yeah.
That's the episode.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Check that out.
Yeah. And you could pause it and you could take a look at it and wish you had those 2 copies.
Yeah.
Amazing Fantasy 15 and Journey into Mystery 83. And right to the left of it, you'll see all the Harvey comics with the little TVs that they had in the.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, what up, man? I got a mess over here. I don't. You probably can't even see it.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I got it.
That's
all
about.
I got stuff here all over my. I'm trying to straighten out files, and it's awful.
Yeah, I'm completely overwhelmed. This has been a horrible day. Just with trying to get everything organized, and I don't. It's like unless I buy more boxes, I got to put things into boxes before I can. But I have to have more boxes.
Same thing. Right, I'm out of space.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to downsize a little bit because I know I have to because I can't bring anything upstairs. My wife will kill me. She has that space for herself. The walls got to be clear, and they can't have anything on the walls up there. So
I could have sworn some of your early episodes, I could have sworn you went upstairs and you had at least a room or two that.
Oh, I got one room. Yeah, my bedroom. That's what I use for all my indie comics. And I got some posters in there, but not in the living room and not on the ceiling or the kitchen like you do.
Well, yeah, I was just experimenting, putting a few on the ceiling. I was going to do the whole ceiling, but I haven't finished that.
Well, I don't want to, change the line of the video that you guys are playing.
What do you have to show?
We're just talking about random stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was ostensibly going to be about Legion of Superheroes, but
I don't know.
Eventually, Hans, I'd like to have you on and I don't know, show some 40s and 50s. I have 40s and 50s, and but a lot of the guys are mainly into Silver Age. But I'm a Golden Age fan too.
Well, I got some stuff back here. Let me take a look. I got some Schoenberg covers here.
This might be a good time to let everybody know that come Wednesday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, I'll be streaming with Carlton 66, and I think Grottu will show up a little later in that. We're going to be talking about Carlton and a little ACG, and he's a big Gene Autry fan, and I'm a Roy Rogers fan, so we'll show some good Cowboy comics as well.
ACG, Kurt Schaffenberger. He was working for there under the pseudonym of, Charles Wall or something?
I don't know.
Kurt Schaffenberger, when he was doing Lois Lane. And then I guess he got fired in 1970 from D.C. because he was trying to organize artists and other creators to protest the oppressive rules that D.C. had. And then they fired him. But they eventually, I think, hired him back. But he designed Lois Lane for the last 50 years, I think. The character and who she is, you know, on TV and everything, that was all based on his writing and drawings in the book. But here's a.
There we go.
Wow.
That's number 10. It's got some water damage up there a little bit, but Alex Schoenberg cover.
What's the year?
I think this is probably about 44. Take it out of here. Double check this. 1943.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, these sadly they're all getting to be very, very expensive, outrageously priced now. I mean,
I'll go to one here. This is 1945, Startling Comics 33.
beautiful.
You can see the Japanese. He's really destroying all their trains, and this was one staple during that little brief period of time during the war when they were trying to conserve metal. So he has one staple in the middle.
That's a beautiful book.
Oh, wow.
What number was that?
33.
30?
33.
33. Okay.
That is Pyro Man. It's not Human Torch and Captain America. It's
Yeah,
it's Pyro Man. Yeah.
Here's Young Allies number 5. Let's see what. Take it out of here. See what the year this is. Another great Alex Schoenberg cover. And you can see how they were stereotyping the enemy. It's from 1942.
Oh, it's my fault. I didn't have you on full screen. There. Oh, beautiful.
That's it's worn. But it's complete and it got beautiful artwork. Just great reading, though, too. It's
Wow.
That is beautiful.
I love the panel layout.
Barbie?
He said he loved the
I love
panel
way
layout.
The panels are laid out on the pages.
Oh yeah. It was, some of the artists like Jack Kirby, they experimented with different types of panels that flowed one into the other.
Yeah.
There's 1947 DC Comics Funny Stuff, number 28.
Wow.
That's
So I love 1940s.
Was that an EC comic?
Yeah, DC. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was EC.
No. It's old Superman's company.
Uh-uh.
They had a lot of humor back then.
Yeah, I got a lot of the Ha-Ha comics.
Yeah.
Ha-Ha comics and some other stuff. It's number 11. Normally I wouldn't buy him in a case like this, but this was a really good deal. I bought this years ago. This is from 1944, 6.0. And I think I paid $200 for this.
Well, it looks sharp.
About 15 years ago, I think. 15 or 14 years ago, $200. Not today, though.
Hmm.
Look at the stereotype. But that was very common during that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were stereotyping us too in their cartoons.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And, Japanese, or maybe it was a German cartoon with Mickey Mouse, and Mickey Mouse was bombing. It was like Mickey Mouse was evil, just bombing people. And
Yeah, who knew that 80 years later it turned out to be right?
Yeah, today's evil.
Oh, man. Let's see what this is. Number 7, a 4.0.
yeah, it's kind of hard to win a war if you don't hate the enemy. So the people have to be conditioned that they're not human. Otherwise, it's real hard to just kill them.
Well, it's all part of propaganda, of course, But and so was demonizing the enemy, stereotyping and demonizing the enemy. That's all part of the propaganda of war. But
yeah,
when you're doing it on your own people, it's kind of weird. But I guess that was the general thought pattern of the country at the time. When they were stereotyping blacks and Jewish people with a big nose and all that stuff. And I think it was really funny because the Jews are the ones that started the comic book industry. And if you look at it,
absolutely. But I wonder, could Will Eisner's The Spirit be reprinted today with the character Ebony?
No.
I mean, but he was a cool character, and he was smart. He was like a real lovable character, but the way he was drawn,
right. Well, it couldn't be published today as a new comic like that, but I think it could be reprinted for historical reasons. I'm pretty sure.
I think they would have to redraw parts of his facial features, or they'd have to have about 10 pages of disclaimers,
right,
and apologies telling you this is the way things used to be. Don't hold us, the publisher, accountable, and all that jazz.
Well, that's
they do the
Captain Marvel.
Cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah, they hired Disney hired Leonard Moulton to come on there and apologize for some of what Mickey and Minnie were getting ready to do, and it wasn't bad. It was just portraying an alcoholic father or something, but everything was so sensitive.
I mean, they put disclaimers in front of 1969, 1970 episodes of Sesame Street for no reason except that this is another time, and it's like there's no problem with them. Sometimes they
well, you had Oscar the Grouch that lived in a garbage can, and you can't have that because he was homeless and living in the garbage can. So I mean,
sometimes there are disclaimers on things like the electric company from the 70s because they're teaching kids how to read with phonics, and that became a very uncool thing there for a while. That
I understand that though.
Well, that's just the educational system decided that kids should learn through whole language, where they just look at a word and know the word instead of sounding it out. It just was a philosophy that changed in the colleges, and so if you taught phonics, then you were some evil conservative.
I don't know. It boggles my mind. I mean, if you're teaching something using a certain method and it works, it's proven to work. Why shouldn't it be available? That's just the way the government is. I suppose.
Yeah.
Real politics,
Right.
Well, Grottu mentions it from time to time about Dennis the Menace's use of the language or slurring his words or whatever. But I had a lot of Pogo comics, and you talk about slang or Southern fried talk, and yet I think our nation worked out just, in spite of that, just fine.
Yeah, well, my mother was a former teacher until she got married, and she just thought that if I read too much Dennis the Menace, that I'd start talking like him, saying ain't, and she just wanted proper grammar, So.
Oh, get a load of this. While we're on the subject, I get a couple of online news feeds from the neighborhood, where I got the other building and so forth, and then you got to register, put your name in there, and then you can have chats, comments, and stuff like that. Somebody commented about how in Chicago public schools now they have to allow black kids to wear whatever hairstyle that they want. They can't discriminate against black children's hairstyles. And what they were banning was 3 specific types of hairstyles that I found were popular amongst gangbangers. So I left a comment saying there, well, why, I don't think it's discriminating against, children because you're not allowing them to wear a certain type of black hairstyle. It's not discrimination against the hairstyle or them because they're black. It's discriminating. It's not discriminating. It's because the hairstyles are based on what gangbangers are wearing and what is popular amongst gangbangers. And they took my comment off. Just took my comment.
Well, that could be dangerous for the kids if they're trying to dress in a way that might make them appear to be gang members. It's dangerous because real gang members might act out against them, or the police may think they're gang. So it's probably not a good idea for parents to let them dress or wear whatever. I know they used to have kids would used to cut notches in their eyebrows to indicate that they were in gangs, but now that's like a style that lots of people have.
Well, when I grew up and I went to school, we all had to follow certain rules and regulation, wear our hair a certain way that was presentable. And my parents had no problem with it. They had no problem with it. They wouldn't let me grow long hair, and I didn't care. I mean, and now there's a problem. All of a sudden, you got to let anybody do whatever they want. The same thing with tattoos. If they want to put tattoos and pierce their lips and their ears and their nose and go to school like that.
Well, tattoos. The teachers have tattoos now. Most teachers.
But the thing is, I commented about that and saying how there has to be some kind of regulation and some rules, and they just took the comment off and they censored me. So that just shows you where we're at. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
that's the way it is.
Well, yeah, hey. Things are weird. We have to be real careful what we say because everything's being censored. But I talked with one alumni that was the school I was teaching at. She went there in 1969, and she said she had a math teacher that had a ring like in her nose and one in her ear, and then there was a chain that went between the nose and the ear. And I thought, wow, that would be weird even today, but somehow it flew.
It's a dangerous influence for kids, I mean, hey, you kept talking about artists and models. That show, that movie with Jerry Lewis, 1955. I finally saw it, all with about 1,000 commercials, but I did see it, and I mean, I liked it, but I forgot it was a musical. And man, I cannot stand musicals. And Shirley MacLaine's singing was just horrific. But I had to put earplugs in. I couldn't stand it when she sang. But other than that, it was historically pretty accurate. With the taking place in 1955, and they were saying how bad the comics were, and they were in the movie itself. I think the guy that was the head of the comic book company, he was supposed to be Bill Gaines, and he was the evil guy. He wanted more decapitated heads. He wanted more blood, So they made them out to be the bad guys in that film.
Oh, yeah. Artists and models?
Yeah.
Yeah, Grottu, you may have missed it. He he noticed that it was a musical, and he doesn't like musicals, but he sat through it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, but it's amazing just the way that they show the art on the walls.
Yeah.
And then I looked online, and that original art that was the comic cover for Bat Lady that was on the wall of the publisher of the comic company somehow came to auction, and you can get a real good scan of it. I used it as one of the thumbnails in one of my videos. Yeah. My wife and I, we found it. I've been looking for that movie for years because I saw it years ago, and my wife and I found it, and we watched it a few weeks ago.
It was interesting. It was very interesting, you know, because it takes place in that time period, 1955, you know, and I guess that as I was just saying, that the guy that was portrayed as the evil guy in this film was supposed to be Bill Gaines, I think. He was always he wanted more blood. He wants more guts and blood and decapitation and things like that. So they're making him out to be the bad guy right there in the film.
Yeah, and then this mom brings her evil kid up and says, "Here, you can have him for the afternoon." And he's just this monstrous kid because he reads all these comics. But,
did you know that was based on a 1937 film, Artists and Models? The original film was 1937 with Jack Benny.
Yeah, I know there have been other movies with that title. I mean, is it the same basic storyline? I doubt it has comics in it.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing that they rewrote it a lot, obviously, to fit 1955, but it's based upon the 1937 Jack Benny Artists and Models.
But was it having to do with the comic strip industry?
It had to do with comic strips from the newspapers, magazines, and these artists and stuff. But not comic books themselves.
Right.
But
there were controversies before comic books came along.
It even had all these artists. They had like 6 artists right here that they were all illustrators for like the New Yorker and different newspaper comic strips. What they did.
Yeah. About 15 years ago, or maybe it's more recent, there were rumors that John Landis was making a movie about the life of William Gaines, and it was going to be about the founding of MAD and EC Comics. And John Landis has made great movies, and he's made some not so good ones, but I thought if he could channel the Animal House era of his career, he could have, and he loves those comics. It could have been great, but as far as I know, that just never. But there must be a script somewhere.
Yeah, you get the right directors and producers. Any movie, I think, can be really good. But,
Strangelife might be the only one interested in this. I just wanted to show him the.
Oh yeah,
you've seen this. You pull out all these records, and they have. It's not really much Jack Benny, but it's got all these other radio shows, and even has a very weird, scary tale. Arch Obler's Lights Out, where a man's wife kind of turns into a cat, and she loses her mind. It's Grottu. This is on the internet. There's an Internet Archive website that you can listen to selected pieces, and you can hear that one. It's like a horror comic on the radio, but I'm a big Jack Benny fan and old radio shows, and I have a lot of them. But
that Jack Benny radio show was the best radio show that was ever produced.
Yes, I agree.
And there were a lot of great radio shows, but I think it was the absolute best. They had all the right characters, and they came together just perfectly.
And if you want to hear EC Comics,
go ahead. No, I was going to say with Dennis Day and the guy that played Rochester. What was his name?
Eddie Anderson.
Yeah, right.
Eddie Anderson.
And then the girl, I forgot.
Mary Livingston. Mary Livingston.
I was going to say Stanley Livingston. Mary Livingston.
Phil Harris.
Yeah, and then Ron Wilson, even the announcer.
Don Wilson,
came together just perfectly. That was a great show.
Well, I like Jack Benny so much. I'm kind of like him. Jack was maybe not the funniest guy, but he would surround himself with all this great talent. And as you can see by your screen, I've been surrounding myself with a lot of good talent lately. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Grottu is my Dennis Day, really, when you think about it. only you get that, but you know.
I don't. I don't know if you got that or not, but
Well, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I listened to tons of Jack Benny,
Oh,
but I was going to say that EC comics are heavily based on the old horror radio shows, like The Witch's Tale, Inner Sanctum. I mean, those
Shadow.
Inner Sanctum, they've got a Crypt Keeper type of. I'm sorry.
And the Shadow. And there was another guy called the Whistler, I think.
Yes, the Whistler.
Yeah.
And,
they were
Jack
great.
Jack Benny did a parody of the Whistler called The Fiddler. So it was very funny. So, but I have all those: the Tarzans, the Superman radio, Lone Ranger, Lum and Abner, Amos and Andy. You're not supposed to have Amos, but I've got them. And but Jack Benny was the best.
I gotta pull out my cassettes. I got the old radio shows, Jack Benny radio shows on a cassette. And I gotta pull them out, play them.
Yeah, one of my first ones. I'm just a little kid. I got the cassette of one of their performances, and they kept interrupting the performance with all these news broadcasts about where to go here to volunteer and where to go sign up for this. And I didn't know what was going on. I pulled the tape out and I looked at the date. It was December 7th, 1941.
Oh, wow.
So earlier that morning, they bombed Pearl Harbor. And so Sunday night, here you're supposed to have this comedy show, and it kept getting interrupted. But it was still a funny show.
Well, that's got to be historically interesting and significant, those kind of shows. But I might even have
What's cool
that.
Is when you...
It's got to be fun to listen to radio shows with the Superman radio show. Who was the first guy that did that? That did Superman on the radio? Wasn't it William Conrad?
I don't know his name.
Was it Bud Collier?
But it's really great to listen to because they mention at the beginning Superman, the character from Action Comics. So they fully mention the comics right in the radio ad.
Yeah, that's nice to listen to old radio shows here. Like Grottu likes to listen to the all the old music from that time period that the comic book would publish, read the comics, listen to that music from that period. It'd be nice to read some of those comics and have the radio shows playing from that time period. It is great, but I wish the comics today were great too, but they're not. They just ain't. I mean, I still buy all the Batman stuff and Spider-Man because I want to keep. I'm a completist, so I got to keep my runs going, But I dropped the Captain America a long time ago, and Iron Man and Fantastic Four. I dropped. It kind of died for me. Those characters, sadly. But,
You're not alone.
Stuff is concerned. They changed Captain America so much and went through so many changes. Unreal.
Well, it speaks to a company that hires someone who is very, very anti-American to write Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then they have not just changing his character, then they kill him off, then they bring him back, then he is not really dead. How many times did they kill him and bring him back? That seems to be a popular thing to do with characters if they're running low on people that are reading them. Kill a character off and get some publicity and then create, some sales for them. And that's all it really is sales creation.
Yeah, they would never think to do that to Superman, would they?
No.
Notice
at
they
least
killed
when
the
they
characters.
Go ahead.
Notice they kill the characters that most represent our country.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that usually are the victims. And then
No.
they'll leave out they'll have truth and justice, and they'll leave out in the American way, and whenever they can in the comics or movies.
You have to say, at least when they killed Cap off in Civil War, it was in the context of a larger story we all knew he was coming back. So I could live with that. But what they've done to him since is, to me, far worse than killing him off to bring him back. I mean, making him ineffectual in his own series, making him... Yeah, I mean, there have been runs where he's questioned his patriotism or questioned America's commitment to excellence. But what they're doing now is just beyond all that. It's just...
he's become irrelevant. I mean, to me, he's become irrelevant. He's not the Captain America that I, grew up with, that I knew from the Silver Age of the 60s and even early 70s. It's just gone.
Yeah.
So, and they're doing it. They're probably not doing that on purpose, but that's what they're doing, making the characters irrelevant to a large readership that was traditionally there from the beginnings in the Silver Age and the Bronze Age and stuff. But
no, I think I'm pretty sure it is deliberate, because they've been working to get rid of the audience that they have for years. And what better way to do that than to make a character like Captain America not even resemble what people liked about Captain America?
you think that's what they're trying to do? I don't know. It could be. It's sad. Regardless, it's just sad that what they're doing.
I mean, they even go in the latest one. I mean, I didn't read it, but I've heard. I've gotten updates on the where he goes back to the Revolutionary War, and we find out that it wasn't the men that were responsible for America getting their independence. It was the ladies behind the scene, because the men were just a bunch of dummies. And Captain America is just another dummy. And again, if you want to make your statements, find another venue.
Yeah.
But like I said, the industry has been taken over by people with ideological differences from, the majority. And I'm not talking about just the right-wing audience. Most of the what we now refer to as classical liberals, they don't like it either.
No.
Yeah.
But as far as the people that are making the books, there's no distinction between liberals and conservatives, because the only thing they're appealing to are progressives.
Right. And it's we've been saturated with it. Well, there was a time when you have to expect that creators are going to at some point inject some of their own philosophies and thoughts on social structure into their books, into their writing. That's inevitable. But when they just saturate it, and that to me is like attempting to brainwash the readership into following a certain political belief.
Oh, no question.
And
I totally loved the 1980s Captain America, because when they replaced him with Super Patriot, and he takes on the identity of the captain, because he can't have the costume, he can't have the shield. Those are owned by the government, but yet he still represents the country, and he was a better man than his replacement. To me, those are some of the best Captain America stories you can get without having to kill anybody or anything like that.
And not only that,
we had one of the presidents back then too.
The guy that replaced him didn't end up at the end of the story. He was not made out to be an irredeemable villain.
Right.
It was he could not live up to Captain America, and he admitted that and became a hero in his own right. But storytelling was different in those days.
Yeah. And Captain America had just come off about a year before that, where he had shot and killed a guy and had to kind of deal with his soul searching for that. But I think that time period was just just really good. And it was neat the way that Tony Stark gives him a replacement shield, and the Falcon sticks close to him, and all that. And they bring in this crazy guy called D-Man, which a lot of people loved, and then Marvel didn't really know what to do with him, and they got rid of him for a while.
Well, they brought him back.
Yeah, but that's a little trip down 1980s memory lane. So.
I mean, they brought him back in name only. Everything else about him was different.
Yeah.
I gotta wonder where the comic book industry is going to be going in the next 10 years. I'm not even sure it's going to exist. I got a feeling it's going to go towards graphic novels, and then these little pamphlet style comics like this are probably going to disappear altogether.
Well, I think they'll always still make them. I've thought the industry would probably die years ago, but and don't misquote me. I think CGC keeps them alive because there is such a large group of people that keep wanting to slab comics, and I'm not anti-slabbing on or making fun of people, but I think that has kept a lot of it going. And then, of course, the variant covers have kept things going. But for story-wise, there's really nothing there for me to look at.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said for CGC and those companies that grade the books, because if you're going to be buying an expensive book, you want to make sure that it's not restored. You want to make sure that it is what the guy says it is.
Yeah, it is supposed to settle all arguments about grade.
And I think
it probably helps out your family members after you pass away.
Yeah.
They can just sell it and not be ridiculed by some crazy comic book guy who's arguing with your widowed wife now because he thinks it's a very fine and she thinks it's a near mint.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what's going to happen when all the speculators realize that most of them are just selling amongst themselves back and forth? And what's going to happen when they either get disinterested and they've already priced out everybody else out of the hobby? What happens then?
Well,
Not being fairly glib, but
the bubble is going to burst. That's what's going to happen.
As far as the single issues, I'm not sure DC's going to be doing a whole lot in about another year, because they're doing. It seems like they're purposely sabotaging their line by raising prices through the stratosphere.
Wow.
No, when $5 is the low end, and it just goes up from there. I think they're angling towards something.
Do you think they just want to go to online only and no print?
Maybe digital with a what we used to call prestige format, what they started to call Black Label. It's funny, a name that was mentioned earlier. And so when they first came out with Black Label, they said, this is an imprint with all of the top talent in the industry and Kelly Sue DeConnick, because she was getting one of the books. But it'll be something along those lines. I think you'll still see, Batman, prestige format books, but I don't know what you're going to see beyond that.
I still think that they're aiming. The reason that they're going up with the prices, or one of the reasons actually, is because they're going to. They want to create a market that's just trades and graphic novels, and I think, like you guys were saying, they'll always be publishing these to some extent, but I think the big market is going to be in the graphic novels, and they'll be able to get those out in the bookstores and other places and stuff like that, where they don't have these, type of comics anymore.
Well, they better hope that manga isn't selling so much better by then that the bookstores say we don't have the shelf space.
Yeah. Well, if they go digital, I mean, I'm not going to be interested in that. I want the actual item in my hand to read and hold. How many people are really going to care about the digital stuff? I don't know.
Well, I don't read any new comics from the big two anymore. Haven't for months, and don't miss it even a little bit. So, I mean, I don't know that and honestly, I work at an LCS now, or I guess everybody's got an LCS, but and the new comics, it used to be on New Comic Book Day. That would be your biggest traffic day of the week. It's not even close to ours. It just does not move the needle like it used to, unless Berserker or the Fortnite comes out and you can get whatever the new hot skin is, whatever that is. And man, do I sound old now.
Well,
Yeah, old guys talking about hot skin. That's something.
kids.
That's all we can do is talk about it.
I don't know.
Kids actually came into comic stores for that first Batman Fortnite. They knew it was coming out. There were cars 2 hours before the comic store opened, parked, filling the lot. There was an older lady waiting there at the door. They knew that there was a Batman comic coming out, and there were kids streaming in all day saying, "I don't think they're going to have it." And the dad says, "Of course they're going to have it. It came out today." And the owners of these stores had no idea. They just ordered a few copies. They didn't know it was going to be a big thing because they didn't know what Fortnite was. And it brought a new audience in, but a lot of these kids were just wanting the code out of the back of the comics
Right.
so they could play the video game. And so they were just telling him, well, you can get this comic online if you just want the code, or you can wait for a reprint in a couple of weeks. But if and I haven't even seen the comic or held it in my hand, but if it had a really great story, and then some of these kids might have read it and it might have hooked them into, but that's providing that the other DC comics they could have moved on to are decent. But I don't know what it's like, but it did bring kids in. And usually there was a kid that came in yesterday, and he came up to me and asked me a question in Spanish, because sometimes I look Spanish, and so he just assumed I spoke Spanish. And I said, "Excuse me," and then he spoke to me in English. He says, "Could you tell me where the comic books are?" And he was just standing right by all these long boxes and all these comics like everywhere. And I said, "Well, they're all around you. They're here. These are the older ones, and there were newer ones out on the table." And I said, "Well, what are you looking for?" He said, "I'm looking for superheroes." And I said, "They're all around you." And he was just kind of confused because he'd never been in a comic store before. But, sometimes you get kids coming in, and but very few. There's a kid, they call him the Spider-Man kid. He comes in and he buys the Spider-Man comics, and he was talking to the clerk, who's 22 years old, and he's and the clerk said, "Well, I like the comics from the 90s or the 80s or something." He says, "Oh, that's old." He was looking for a comic. That's what he said. He said, "I'm looking for a comic that's really old." And then he said it's from like 2019. And that was really old to him. And she says, "Well, you see that guy back there? He likes comics from the 60s. He says, "Oh, that's really old." So, kids do come in, but not many. And again, everything really was killed by direct distribution. His kids don't see comics. They're not in the 7-Elevens of the drugstores, and they're ridiculously priced. So that's really what was, to me, the beginning of the end, when comics were only available in comic stores. And comic stores are stores that most people never go into. They're like the dirty bookstore. I mean, it's kind of like a guy's hangout. And
yeah, it's kind
like
of a catch-22. You
Yeah.
got the kid, the bookstores realized a long time ago that the shelf space that it takes to sell those in a diminishing print medium isn't worth. I mean, it's like there's a reason why like Walmart no longer sells CDs, because anything they put in that place is going to make them more money. So then it put the onus on the comic book shops to find better ways to reach them. And I think the industry failed as a whole in promoting to let people know, A, where you could get this stuff, and B, give them something that they wanted. Because it's another thing we didn't have to compete with when we were kids. Video games. These. I mean, all the world's entertainment can be at your fingertips. How do you get a kid that's putting money towards the latest Call of Duty to spend money on something that you turn pages that doesn't move? That's, and so it was never going to be what it was. But and that's the thing, they kept chasing an audience that they probably weren't going to be able to get when they should have been trying to keep the audience they had and try to get probably the most kids that read comics now had it passed down from their parents who read comics or maybe still read comics. But if you chase those people away, there's nobody to pass it down to. So then you're trying to start fresh with kids that have never been exposed to it. And how do you say, hey, it's a great hobby to break into, kids. Yeah, they're $5 or $6 a piece, and your allowance is only $4. But so there's so many problems now to replenish the people that read them, and again they're going after. The industry would rather get Twitter likes than sales.
Yeah,
and it's just, like I said, there's so many problems. It would take a 25-hour stream to even get into it.
But I know the bookstore Grottu is referring about. There's always a bunch of skateboarders in front. They're playing weird music. It's dark. It's dingy, and everybody's in there playing card games like called Magic or something. And all I want to do is find something like this. And so
Right.
I am the oddball, and so I'm not welcome in those types of stores. So
I think that when the companies, especially DC and Marvel, went public, they only had one obligation from that point onward, and that wasn't to the comic book collector or the enthusiast. It was to the shareholders, and that's to make money.
Yeah.
So they'll make money any which way that they can.
Graphic, what issue was that?
This 11.
Ah.
I've probably got them all somewhere.
There's a bigger picture, and it's like we're living in a James Bond movie, but there's no James Bond, or at least he hasn't appeared yet in the movie. And we've got the villains. There's a guy named Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, he froze.
Leaders all
There he is.
they hear me talking. All of a sudden, all these world leaders are talking about the Great Reset and building back better. And I joke about all that all the time on my channel. There's this guy named Klaus Schwab. He comes out with he's got this thick accent like Blofeld, and he's wearing like an outfit that looks like something from Krypton with shoulders that come. It's part of some big think tank. And all the world leaders, the head of Canada, the current leader of the U.S., like occupant of the White House, is talking about the Great Reset. And Klaus Schwab in his book says it's going to be so great in the future. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You'll live in a little small cubicle and you'll rent everything. Food will be brought to you. You won't ever really have to leave your house. So this is a preview, the last year, of what your life will be like. And you won't own music. You'll just rent it. Movies will stream.
That sounds like a totalitarian communist regime.
Yeah, they're trying to say, well, you could just eat bugs. They're very nutritious and it won't harm the environment. We don't want all this carbon dioxide that plants live on. It's like you just get your comics digitally. You don't have to own anything. You can live in this little box and you'll be contained. And there's weird stuff going on. The more you pay attention, some of it's crazy, maybe, but there's enough weird stuff going on that a lot of it's for real. And because all this, every time you hear someone talk about building back better and the Great Reset, those are code words for the destruction of everything we love. They don't want people living in big houses enough to house all these comic boxes and stuff that we collect. We're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they don't want people to own anything. They want communism. They call it socialism, but and so we've been conditioned and everything. It's I don't know.
Eric, did you want to see one in particular? Here's number one.
Oh, well, no, when you said I was looking for that, I thought it was number 2, and I was going to hold it up, but Yeah, I'll see your number 1,
All right.
and I'll raise you a number 1.
Here's number 3.
All right.
Here's you got 4?
No, I got. Let's see. I can. Okay, I'll see your 3.
Yeah. We'll skip 4. Go to 5.
Now, and this is where I have to fold.
Okay.
What's great about that era is that it's still Silver Age. It still feels like a silver. It still smells like a Silver Age comic. It's still that. It's only a couple of years after those comics originally appeared, and they don't edit the stories like they later did in Marvel Tales and Marvel's Greatest Comics. Everything's complete, and it's, to me, a lot more fun than having a Marvel Masterworks or an omnibus, because it's real and it's from that time. So
we talked earlier about Marvel Collector's Items and Marvel Tales. We forgot to mention the other night about Marvel Superheroes, which later would reprint the Hulk. They had some really good stuff too.
Yeah, I love the when it went from original stories, which like number 20, I think was Doctor Doom. The first reprint had like 11 superheroes on the cover. I had that when I was a kid, when I didn't know any better. I thought they were new stories. I mean, I've loved that book my whole life.
Yeah.
Did Phantom Eagle ever reappear, or just in that one issue?
He made one other appearance, but I've forgotten what that was.
We were talking about really cool stuff that DC did in the 60s, and we were talking about Legion of Superheroes and Doom Patrol, but I forgot Metal Men and Enemy Ace. And a lot of those war comics were so great because they could be a straight war comic, but then there's the supernatural element where there's a Confederate ancestor that's you got a haunted tank, and then you got the island filled with dinosaurs. I mean, it just, it was so wonderful.
The thing about DC in those days was they were really committed to war, horror, Western, romance, sci-fi. And those books were very well done. And it seemed like they aimed a little higher than the superhero books for the most part.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Weird War Tales, you'd have a bunch of Navy guys on a submarine and they're being attacked by a dinosaur. That was some good stuff.
You mean that didn't happen?
Oh, no.
That was entertainment.
Well, unclassified. It wasn't classified.
Yeah, Jonah Hex felt like you were watching a spaghetti western. And
when he gets his own title, I actually liked
artwork in there.
I liked Scalp Hunter, who took his place.
Yeah.
That's beautiful stuff.
And then remember that issue that showed his man, he's married to a woman, and then at the very end you see that he's displayed under glass his corpse, like they did with some of the gunfighters back then. It was so cool that they traveled his body around.
Yeah, that was I think that was in one of the spectaculars, so one of DC's special series issues. I think told that story.
This is one of Grottu's favorite artists on the cover.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Is that
Ernie Chua? Yeah.
Yeah, Ernie Chan.
He said Ernie Chan, I said Ernie Chua, and we're both right.
Ernie, wait a minute, isn't it the same guy?
Yeah. He had his name changed.
He's the same guy.
Yeah,
his name was Ernie Chan, but when he came to the United States, somehow they wrote Ernie Chua, and so he had to use that name until or something where he finally became a citizen. He changed it Ernie Chan, so you see Ernie Chua, and then at some point it changed to Ernie Chan, and that confused me for years. I didn't know was it two guys that drew exactly alike. When I
used to think that they were two brothers. I used to think they were two brothers until I realized that.
I think I'm on a delay and I'm interrupting people.
Maybe about 3 seconds.
Hey, this is a great cover.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I need to.
This is these are the kind of comics I really miss. I miss the company Dell. It's too bad that they don't exist anymore. Just great stuff. Comic books were meant to entertain. Now they're meant to brainwash you.
But until they all get rounded up and thrown in a big bonfire, we still have them. So that's good enough for me.
You know, and the other day I was rereading some old ones and I realized, you know, it's kind of nice to forget things and have a bad memory because these are like brand new all of a sudden. So
Ain't it the truth?
it's going to be a great when I retire. I'll be set. So
Yeah, then your vision goes and you can't read.
yeah, yeah.
It's like
I've already got my magnifying glass laid aside for that.
That's the
the
only
Twilight Zone
drawback.
episode, time enough at last.
That's the only drawback to what you were saying, Grottu, about reading the old ones being better than reading the masterworks. My old ass eyes are getting to where I need the masterworks because I'm having trouble reading the 55-year-old newsprint.
That was the
Yeah.
Twilight Zone, wasn't it? Burgess Meredith.
Yes.
Time at last.
Yeah,
Oh,
Time
great
enough at
episode.
last.
Yeah.
Henry
All they
Bemis.
gotta do, to pacify me with the omnibuses or whatever masterworks, print all the ads like in those books that I just sent you, Graphic Man, that hopefully are in the other room that you've arrived today. If you print all the ads, I'll be completely happy. But the ads are a big, almost half of the experience to me. And
In that
those
page,
comics we were talking about had the best ads.
and that page, like in the old Marvels, it had the Stan's soapbox and then the checklist of books
Sure.
coming out.
Sure.
I'd
Yeah.
love for those to be reprinted in those.
All the house ads.
Yeah.
Especially in the early 70s when they had the house ads for Vampire Tales and Tomb of Dracula and Tales of the Zombie. As a little kid into monsters, just looking at those ads, it was so great.
Here's one I think Strangelife will really like.
Oh, wow.
1957.
The Labyrinth. I think I might have that copy. That's nice. I
That's
love
cool.
Atlas books. Beautiful. That's the nice
The
condition.
comics code, they had to make the covers a lot tamer with the comics code. If it had been a few years earlier, it would be some guy with fangs bursting up out of a coffin or a swamp.
I
Instead,
think
it's the guy by a
it was
building.
actually a good thing. I think it was a good thing
Huh?
because it made creators have to look for new ideas and establish different ways of creating stories and characters.
Yeah.
Here you go, Strangelife. Here's some Atlas.
Patsy and Hetty.
Now you see the
Hot Pants.
logos here. Say you have to say goodbye to Hetty because when they get that comics code, it takes up the whole cover there, and so you don't see Hetty anymore. But I'll collect anything. So
Okay, not as old, but
oh yeah,
there's your I'll collect anything.
yeah.
That's becoming the new thing. People collecting romance comics.
Yeah.
I tell you,
West
most of the stories are very decent, and usually, the couple that may have some trouble, they get back together, and I consider it pretty good, wholesome, and the art is pretty good.
And the prices are sky high now too.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That's where Stan got John Romita from DC's romance line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, they created the first romance comic back in 47. Young Romance, I think it was, wasn't it? Or
yeah. There's a hardcover. I've got it around here somewhere of their. I think I've got the romance stuff.
I think they created the first romance comic. I think it was called Young Romances. I'm not 100% sure right now, but
I like it when they adapted people's dreams, that you could send your dreams in and they turn them. To me, that's a great idea. But if someone was to do it like with really insane dreams that people had, that would be a great. Someone needs to revive that concept. Send in your dreams and nightmares, and we'll illustrate them for you.
from Harvey, 1956.
Yeah, that's cool.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's why your bus is always late, because this lady's always holding everything up.
Well, the bus driver's a peeper, apparently. Yeah.
And the art, that's Jack Kirby.
Wow.
That covers
Oh.
Jack.
Yeah. Cover art by Jack Kirby, 1956, Harvey Comics.
Oh. I think I might have showed this before. I don't know.
Oh, I rarely see those.
This is 1948.
Oh, I've never seen that.
I'm not sure who does the cover.
Me neither.
Um, hmm. 1948. Yeah, it is pretty nice. I was lucky to buy these when years ago when they wouldn't sell inside the comic book store where I used to go. They just would not sell, so I picked them up.
Is that Nellie? Oh,
Yeah, Nellie the Nurse, number 17.
Yeah. A true Marvel comic, that's for sure.
Yeah. Got a couple of Patsy Walker and Cindy comics on the floor there.
That's product placement. I'll show one more. This is from Harvey. Some
Oh yeah.
Fighting Fronts #1. You look closely. This communist is he's getting blown sky high in the Korean War.
Yeah, a lot of people don't remember that or don't realize that Harvey actually produced a war comic like that.
They did some good stuff.
Yeah.
They think of Harvey, they think of Casper and Richie Rich, but Harvey had all kinds of stuff.
Oh, this is one of my favorites here, but I showed this before on my channel. Sonny,
Yeah.
1947.
That's nice.
This is actually I think this is number 11 on the Indicia, but it's actually the first Sonny comic book. It's actually the first one.
Did Sonny get a hardcover? Yeah, not omnibus, but I mean like a whatever you want to call it, like a selection of best stories. Am I imagining that, or
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they produced something like that. But I'd probably buy it if they did.
because I know I've got a hardcover upstairs of a character like that, and I might be Sonny. I'm not sure though.
Do any of you have any Tilly the Toiler comics?
I did, and I sold them about 2 years ago. I had, I think maybe the
Because my mom always Oilers, so I figure I should get some.
Strangelife, where they
She
all
always-
the Dell 4 colors. I think they made 2 Dell 4 colors.
which one is that?
Tilly,
Tilly.
yeah, what he just said.
I don't know what she bought. Was it also a comic strip in the newspaper?
It's been a while. I don't remember.
Is it, I mean, we're my mom was born in the 20s, so I just would, because she was always drawing this comic girl face whenever she was on the phone doodling, and I knew it was something she learned to draw as a little girl, and I figure maybe it's Tilly the Toiler. It kind of looks like the sketch of Lucille Ball for the side from the side. And I just want to find where she got that image that I have all these drawings all around that she drew. I got to find the source.
This cover is by Al Feldstein, who went before he went to EC.
Oh,
Yeah, they get both the risque and the sweet and innocent at the same time.
Yeah, you could see where that guy's looking. You know, I mean, they got a couple of candies.
And that's a great logo too.
Yeah, America's teenage favorite teenage girl.
That's very cool.
But they're making her look like a dizzy dame, you know, right here. To use a term from the 1940s, a dizzy dame. I love the ads in these. They have ads in here for Gilbert Erector sets and Roy Rogers cowboy outfits and just great stuff, great ads. Sometimes I read the ads more than I do the comics.
Yeah.
Well, Graphic Man, I do have one scanned of Tilly the Toiler. It's a 4-color number 15 from 1941. The art style does look like it's from the 30s almost. So I wonder if they were from the newspaper strips.
Yeah,
It
those
looks
look
like
like
newspaper
reprints in the
strip.
newspaper strip.
Definitely.
Yeah, kind of the old Gasoline Alley feel to it.
Can you blow up like a side shot of her face on your screen? I bet that's what she was drawing all the time. Yeah, maybe something like that.
Like this?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah.
If that's possible to blow it
I
up.
will.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind having like you've got these digital scans of comics that are just way too. There's just no way I'd ever be able to afford to buy them all or have time in my life to buy them. But you know, for the most part, I like to have physical comics in my hand. But this archive you've got is amazing. But
Yeah, I got to check on that. What Eric was talking about. There's some kind of an omnibus or a collection of these stories. I would love to have. This is the only copy I have of Sonny. Got to check that out. Got to be the best way to go. It's so expensive today. These damn books.
wonder what the press run is on those omnibus books.
No idea. But I don't think that they're a lot, though, because they're so expensive. You know, when they first come out, anyway. You get them on the secondhand market. That'd be the better way to go. Maybe secondhand books if they.
Guys, I hate to bow out, but I've got another stream in a few minutes. Hate to leave this slideshow because I'm loving seeing these books.
Well,
But Captain, I'll look to see what that is, and I'll have it to show next time we all get together.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I don't think it's Sunny because I just tried to look it up, but it was a character similar to that. There was, you know, cheesecake of the day type of thing. It was, but you know, I'll have that. But yeah. So thank you, Graphic Man, for having me on. Captain Strangelife, it was nice to meet you. Grottu, it was good to see you again. And
see you guys here. Good to see you.
You guys are bored there. Yeah, we'll be streaming on I Love Comics here, starting at about 9:15.
all right.
So
Cool.
take care, gentlemen.
We'll knock them dead.
Don't call me any names.
Yeah. And I'd like to remind everybody that come Wednesday night, I'll be streaming with Carlton 66. And hopefully Grottu will join us later. And hopefully Captain Strangelife can join us as well. I'd like to put in a quick plug for my episode, Tailors of Asgard. I'm getting pretty good results on some of these streams, but this one episode, which I think is extremely funny, has only got 29 views. So I'm hoping to plug that. But
Is that on your channel?
yeah, I go through and I show you every ridiculous outfit Odin wears, and I make fun of them. And I have fashion show music in the background, and I'm just kind of being a crazy dork about it. But and yeah, it's quite the hoot. I put a lot of time into it, but for some reason I uploaded it on a Sunday, and I've only got like 29 views. The rest of them I get, maybe 80 views or so. So for some reason that's the one hidden gem. I think it's that logo. You see this weird guy, putting on he's mending a suit as a tailor. It looks kind of boring. It doesn't look comic book related, but they can't all be winners like this one. So.
Maybe you can change the picture to something more.
Yeah, I might. I just might have to do that. Or that wild thing right there.
Oh no, you got to send me that.
And Strangelife, you like cowboy comics? There's a
El Dorado. What a great film that was. I loved it. James Caan.
You may be right. You may be right. This is the Robert Mitchum character, and John Wayne, of course, which was kind of like a remake of Rio Bravo.
Was kind of like a remake of, what they remade it in the Rio Lobo.
Yeah. Well,
I loved all those films. They were great. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we're at the 3-hour, 21-minute mark. I think I'll go have some late supper. We appreciate you, Strangelife, coming on, and sorry you had trouble with the headphones, but they look great on you. You might just keep them around. So.
Well, if they work, that's good.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Man, I'm tired. I'm probably going to go upstairs and go to bed. I was flying a kite, which is a lot better than reading comic books these days, new comics.
Yeah.
I'd rather fly a kite. But I spent a lot of time on the lake out there, so I'm doing work. I'm tired, man. So off to bed I go.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll see everybody Wednesday. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'll try to get on Wednesday as well.
That'd be swell.
Yeah, I'll feel a lot more energy.
You Central Time Zone?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be 7 Central or 7-ish. So
who's got the cup with the soda pop in it? Does somebody have a cup with a soda pop in it? It sounds. I keep on hearing something like.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing that.
Yeah,
maybe that's it. Straw. I've been hearing that all.
Grottu.
All right.
He's doing this the whole time.
Have you been nervously rubbing that straw?
I wonder what the hell is that, man? I thought it was the microphone. It's him.
I don't think I was making that much noise, was I?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I was.
You should stick with the bubble up. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife says there's a store.
Oh, there you go. There you
it has bubble up. There's a store called some store down in South Arlington that has they have all the old candy and old drinks that most places don't. And she swears that there's bubble up. So I'm gonna go try to see if I can actually try and see what it. Because this is an actual bottle that's from the 50s or 60s here. So I've never really tasted it.
Well, good being on here. I appreciate that you invited me. I'm sorry I got here so late, but I'm glad I was able to get on. So I'm going to take off, and I hope I see you guys on Wednesday.
All right. We look forward to it. Have a good night, sir.
Take care.
And Grottu, I don't know if you're still there, but we'll go ahead and say goodnight to everybody. And as always, happy drawing.